to try and taint the grand jury. They then use to put into their indictment things that should never be said outside of an attorney-client communication setting, to try to separate Evan Corcoran from the legal team so he becomes a witness instead of a lawyer.
They wanted to turn him against President Trump.
Yeah.
And the precedent that Jack Smith and his team, the team that is committed to the rule of law and operating with the utmost integrity.
The precedent that Jack Smith is trying to set here is that when clients ask us questions, they didn't go to law school, and they have to ask us, what are we allowed to do? What do we have to do? And in this case, President Trump says, hey, I read about Hillary Clinton and her lawyer, David Kendall, deleted 33,000 emails.
Yeah.
Can we do the same thing? And under Jack Smith's rule, any question the client asks, if we say, no, you can't do that, that's a crime.
Oh, my God. I mean, this just upends all of attorney-client privilege ethics rules that I ever learned in law school.
It does. And this is one of the things. I believe this case, there's going to be serious litigation in the pretrial stage over prosecutorial misconduct by this team, which could entirely upend this case. We may never get to a trial.
That's a big statement. In addition to this, what Parlatore was talking about, that doesn't even cover the allegations by the lawyer representing the other person indicted, Trump's body man, that Walter Nauta, who suggests that the deputy director of counterintelligence at the FBI tried to get him to compel his client to cooperate by dangling a Superior Court judge appointment to a Superior Court judgeship in D.C. out for the lawyer, trying to get him to, violate the canons and act in his interest rather than his client's best interests. I mean, so there's some more fireworks to happen here. But Charles, taking this all in and everything you've seen, your perspective on the legitimacy of the indictment against Trump.
I don't speak legal. I'm not a lawyer, and I do not speak legalese.
And you don't want to be.
And what they were talking about there on those clips, I mean, they lose me very quickly. I asked the question, how is all of this playing with the independent voter, the so-called independent voter in America? I mean, right now, anybody with any common sense can see that these indictments, including the situation in New York, the possible situation in Georgia, all of the stuff that went down during Trump's first term, the collusion investigation, the phone call, they're out to get Donald Trump. Folks, you gotta understand that somehow they are out to get this guy, and it's all political. It's gotta be political. And what I think the independent voter has to consider, what does this mean to the United States of America? I mean, think about the rest of the world and what it sees going on here. We've heard about this being a banana republic play or whatever. Yeah, it is. And the rest of the world is watching and saying, oh, that's what American democracy is about. And the independent people in this country, the people who want this country to survive, they have to make a decision about these politics that the Democratic Party is playing and about these anti-Trump forces. And why do they want to get this guy so badly? What did he do? I know he says a lot of stuff, I mean, that's, out there on the edge. But what did he do? I mean, there was prosperity. There was peace, relative peace in the world during his 4 years in office. Right? We didn't invade anybody. We didn't do that. When he was in office, compare the state of the world when he was president and the state of the world now. We're on the brink. We're on the brink right now with this situation in Ukraine. And he has already made a statement, I will stop this war within 24 hours. He said that. And Donald Trump, when he says it generally, he's going to do it. It's going to happen. And you got to think about the people who will lose billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, if he would do that.
So you're in the Tucker Carlson war party camp.
Oh man, am I?
That's what you think is happening.
I think that's why Tucker's gone today, because that's the only thing Tucker really talked about that they don't talk about anymore on Fox. Right? They're down with the war now. They don't get into these Colonel Doug McGregor kind of interviews that Tucker was doing. Right? Tucker was talking to these people that really knew something about what's going on the ground. And he talked about Zelensky banning the Russian Orthodox Church. My gosh, he was banning the Christian church.
And the press.
And we're supporting this guy?
Adverse press outlets and so forth. That's interesting. I mean, something, though, that you're pointing up, I think, is a good question. Like the common sense person, as you say, separating out all the back and forth between attorneys, process, the procedural due process here, and the substantive due process question. What is it you're saying about Trump? What are you trying to convince me as to the threat Trump poses? Be specific. Explain to me.
I'll be specific.
No. I mean, like you, but I think the question that people are saying is to prosecutors and you just keep saying he's threats to democracy. What to what you just said? What is he exactly going to do? What do you think he is attempting to do? Attempted to do? Will attempt to do? Right? Be specific. Right?
Well, I think they can't tell us what he was going to do with the classified documents. What's the motive? Well, what's the motive that Donald Trump had for secreting or taking these documents? What was he going to do with them?
Right.
I want to hear the prosecutor. This is the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
I want to hear the prosecutor tell me that Donald Trump was going to sell them to the Chinese and make another $1 billion. I want to hear them tell me that he's going to write a book with them. I don't know, but
you want a motive, right? You want a theory of his motive.
Yeah, but they haven't given me that.
Supported by evidence,
and that reveals to me that it's number one, political. You didn't have to do it. When you think about what you do to the country, the damage you cause to the country's image, not only within but also around the world, why would you do something like this to a guy? And it's bold-faced election interference. They can't read a poll. They don't know that this is a former president of the United States who is eligible to run for another term. They don't know that. Don't the American people make that call? They don't want us to do that with all these different. This is election interference, classic election interference.
We'll hold there. We'll take your calls on the other side, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And on the other side, we'll also pick up the other side, the state of the investigations, into Biden Inc., into Biden's handling of classified information, where that stands. Biden responded to the question of the FBI informant alleging the $5 million bribe again yesterday. We'll have that at 5:38, but now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
54 degrees at 5:30. U.S. officials say the Department of Energy is among a small group of federal agencies that have been compromised in a Russian cyber extortion gang's global hack of a file transfer program popular with corporations and governments. Other known victims include the Louisiana Office of Motor Vehicles, Oregon's Department of Transportation, the Nova Scotia provincial government, British Airways, and the BBC. Emergency resources are being deployed in the Texas Panhandle, where a tornado killed 3, County Sheriff Terry Borchert.
Tornado traveled on an easterly direction across town, doing a lot of damage, particularly to mobile homes, businesses, and other homes in the areas.
The twister tore through the town of Perryton, north of Amarillo. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveling to Beijing this weekend.
There have been a series of these actions directed not just at us, but at other countries in recent months.
Blinken remarking that the rare high-level meeting comes amid heightened tension. Police in Germany say one American tourist was killed, another injured, when they were attacked near a famous castle in southern Germany. According to police, 2 young women were sexually attacked and then pushed down a steep slope by a 30-year-old American man. The women were shoved down a steep slope 160 feet. The mayor of Miami tossing his name into the 2024 presidential race.
Freedom, as we know, is never free. It needs to be renewed and re-won by every generation. And to meet this challenge, we need a strong leader.
Francis Suarez became the first Hispanic to enter the growing field. Pope Francis has returned to the Vatican after being discharged from Rome's Gemelli Hospital recovering from abdominal surgery. A Massachusetts Air National Guardsman who allegedly leaked classified documents on social media has been indicted. Jack Teixeira is facing 6 counts. Texas Governor Greg Abbott signs a bill that says he will save women's sports. Bans transgender athletes from competing on women's sports teams from kindergarten to the collegiate level.
Women's sports, women's records, women's teams, women's dressing rooms are jeopardized when men are allowed to compete for those teams.
Backers of the bill say it doesn't stop transgender athletes from competing. Here in Chicago, the daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside of a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island will appear in Chicago federal courtroom and change her plea to guilty on charges Heather Mack helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. 2 people are wounded following a shooting on the Eisenhower Expressway. It happened on an exit ramp on the west side to Holman Avenue. A temporary Chicago casino could open soon.
It is important for everyone to understand that preliminary suitability is just that. It is preliminary.
The Illinois Gaming Board approving a proposal that allows Bally's to continue preparing the old Medina Temple in River North for gaming and hire employees necessary to operate that casino. Cubs sweep out the Pirates with a convincing 7-2 win in the finale of that series on the north side. White Sox could not hold on to a 4-0 lead. The bullpen implodes in a 5-4 11-inning loss to the Dodgers. The news, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now, Dan and Amy 247.com. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The feeble fascist and the entire upper echelon of the Democrat Party is a big, giant, pay-to-play scheme mafia. They get to lie with impunity, and they lie knowingly. And what does the lie lead to? The fact that the sitting president, although he doesn't know it and he's sitting in his own urine, the sitting president is an asset of enemies, foreign. We know. We also know about the domestic, but we're used to unions.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
The weather is heating up, and so are the savings at Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned Mazda, you need to visit Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst. You'll find the Mazda you want, and the price you see is the price you get. No games, no gimmicks. And right now is a great time to buy a new Mazda with limited time incentives that only come around once a year. You can lease a 2023 Mazda CX-30 for $286 per month, or a 2023 Mazda CX-5 for $319 a month for 36 months with approved credit through Mazda Capital Services for qualified buyers. Just add license, title, tax, and $324.24 doc fee. Plus, stop in today and ask about the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90. And to keep your Mazda running great all year round, schedule your next service appointment right online at WilkinsMazdaCars.com. Wilkins Mazda, conveniently located in Elmhurst off of York Road and 290, just minutes from Oak Brook downtown in Schaumburg. Experience the next level of excellence at Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst. Visit WilkinsMazdaCars.com. See dealer for details.
I want to invite you to join me and my very good friend, former gubernatorial candidate Gary Rabine, along with presidential advisor and noted economist with dirty glasses Stephen Moore, for a very special dinner at Bull Valley Country Club in Woodstock on Wednesday, June 21st, celebrating the incredible work being done by Job Creators Network, including their efforts to have the Biden administration's vaccine mandate struck down by the Supreme Court, and much more. Job Creators Network has been working hard to stop the Biden administration's student loan bailout. Join Gary and me, along with Steve Moore, as we support the work of JCN. No other organization is fighting harder for freedom, small business, and the American dream than JCN. To reserve your seat or an entire table at the dinner Wednesday, June 21st, go to 560theanswer.com, 560theanswer.com/JCN. That's 560theanswer.com/JCN, and learn more about Job Creators Network at jobcreatorsnetwork.com.
Now there's a simple, easy, and effective way to clean your nose and protect your health. It's called Navage. Navage, available at navage.com.
5:37 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is the service of MyPillow. Brand new MyPillow 2.0. Now buy one, get one free with promo code Liberty. Washable, dryable, 60-day money-back guarantee. MyPillow.com, promo code Liberty. Inbound Kennedy, 30 minutes already. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Already getting slow in the construction zone. I-55 stop-and-go traffic. 2 right lanes blocked. Southbound between Weber and Route 126 with ongoing road work. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds will give way to sun. Another cool day ahead. High 71. Clear and 55 overnight. 80 tomorrow. 54 right now at O'Hare and 42 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter. We were talking about the multitude of issues surrounding the prosecution of former President Trump and the investigations into current President Biden. Yeah, particularly on the order of those, and take your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. On the current investigations of Biden, you know, to start with the parallel one into his handling of classified information, classified documents. NBC News reported this week that Biden's advisors have determined that he would provide an interview to the special counsel investigating his handling of classified documents once Biden's legal team and the Justice Department agree on conditions. So, first of all, this is a question for Robert Herr. You've been on the job 6 months. Why hasn't this happened already? That's number one. Number two, as James Freeman asks in his Best of the Web column in the Wall Street Journal, if Biden, who claimed to be unaware of how all the documents that shouldn't have been in his office, home, and garage ended up in his office, home, and garage, if he was sincere in claiming how seriously he took such issues, he could be much more helpful in bringing facts to light. Why does it take this long? If he was not at fault for the mishandling of documents that magically appeared in his office, home, and garage, then which of his aides were? Do we know this? We don't know anything. George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley makes this case as well, saying that Biden's public statements on the matter make no sense. His claim these documents were inadvertently removed from the Senate and the White House strained credulity. You do not just inadvertently remove classified documents from a SCIF and then retain them for almost 2 decades. Moreover, the documents from the period of the Obama administration were not just removed, but they were divided and repeatedly moved to different locations. One document ending up in Biden's personal library, as has been reported. The movement and division of the documents suggest purpose and knowledge. Who hires, and as Freeman follows up, who hires lawyers to move, as movers, unless one knows that the items being moved are not just typical office supplies? Another good question.
Well, if the media does not crystallize the issues involved in this, the likelihood of anything happening quickly is slim and is slim.
Well, maybe the best that one can hope for those that are interested in the equal application of the law, equal protection under it and equal application of it. Maybe the best you can hope for is to muddy the waters so much by presenting the truth, which muddies the waters, where people look at this and say, this is just typical D.C. politics. I don't believe any of it, or I don't want any part of it. I don't feel like either one is a serious threat. I feel like this is just partisan politics. It's sniping. It's in the weeds and in the mud, and I dismiss it all out of hand.
But you got to boil it down, man, and that's what the First Amendment is there for, so that there would be a free media that could boil it down. That's what we don't have in this country. We don't have anybody really calling it out, like you just did. Like, hey, what's taking so long? What's the problem? If you know, we as media, as the press, if you will, we define the issue. We should be the ones who define the issue. That's the way it used to be.
Well,
this is what we're going to talk about.
You mean define in terms of explain, like take it from here to here, funnel it. Like, here's what's going on, and here's the sort of underlying principles at stake, and here's their application in cases that are similar. And here are the questions that are raised by the facts in each instance.
Yeah, just boil it down. I mean, boil it down. We were talking a few minutes ago about the Ukraine war. Who's making money from that? I don't hear them talking about that. I mean, who's buying who's selling all these weapons that are being used? These ultra modern weapons. I mean, they'll blow $1 million on one bomb, one drone, or whatever.
We'll leave $85 billion in equipment behind in Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
And shrug our shoulders.
And it's got to be replaced. Who's selling the replacement parts?
And
are they going to replace it with the same stuff that we lost? No, they're going to go next generation. So you've got weapons manufacturers in this country right now making gazillions of dollars. And when someone like Donald Trump says, I'll stop this war in 24 hours, and you had an experience with Trump where he did not do one of these adventuristic, wars, you got to think that the military-industrial complex, they don't want to see Donald Trump. They want nothing to do with this guy. They want a guy who's going to keep spending, to keep the bills coming,
and maybe a guy who's
accepting the bills,
and maybe guys who is compromised so that they can keep him under their thumb. Biden asked yesterday, after some little symposium on junk fees, banks junk fees. He was asked by New York Post reporter Stephen Nelson about the allegation made by the FBI confidential informant as it pertains to the CEO of Burisma. That's who we all think they're talking about. Mm-hmm. Here's how that went.
Why did the Ukraine FBI informant file refer to you as fake? Why is that term? Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
Why that's such a dumb question.
So, why did he call you the big guy? What's your response to being called the big guy by a Ukrainian oligarch, Burisma CEO? Why do you ask such a dumb question?
But dumb question.
Very much like the, where's the money? The last time he was asked something about the allegations.
And of course, he's referred to as the big guy on the laptop. I mean, is this the same big guy or what?
Maybe Devin Archer can tell us. Former Hunter Biden business partner Devin Archer, now a convicted felon, is in talks with the House Oversight Committee, Jim Comer's committee, to testify about Biden Incorporated. Monday, Comer issued a subpoena, but he will instead be allowed to negotiate a later appearance. So we'll see what Devin Archer has to say. Maybe we'll revisit what Tony Bobulinski said back before the 2020 election and talk a bit, and maybe he has more information. Maybe he'll be before that committee again to provide sort of the context and piece this all together so that, as you say, you can explain and you can respond to questions and criticisms of the arguments that are being made.
Remember, I don't know if you're old enough, Dan, but I remember when Walter Cronkite, the legendary CBS anchor, voice of God, if you will, when he turned on the Vietnam War. He turned on the Vietnam War, and he just looked through the numbers he was being given. He was seeing the situation from his own correspondence on the ground in Vietnam, and he said, "Wait a minute." Basically, what he said, is essentially, "Hey, we've been lied to."
Yeah, right.
We're being lied to,
right,
constantly, and he called them out, and that was one of the great moments in American journalism, as far as this reporter is concerned. And we don't have that right now. With that person hasn't come to the fore. Perhaps it's Tucker Carlson. Maybe it is. But you saw what happened to Tucker Carlson. But that's the kind of moment of clarity that we need in this country, because people have got to understand, too, that all of this back and forth that's going on between Republicans and Democrats and conservatives and liberals and such, the country is at stake.
Well, and
people have got to understand, do we want this experiment to continue or not? And at what point are we going to have that moment of clarity?
Well, and the idea that you report on these agencies and their representatives lying to the American people. So who does that? As they have, as Kevin McCarthy pointed out the other day, as you have Andy McCabe on the payroll, as you have Jim Comey as an honored guest before whom you genuflect and ask softballs, as he did after the Durham report, to do some reputational rehab. Who's still talking about the story out the end of last month, the warrantless searches of Americans' data by the FBI, as many as 3.4 million, and this all in the context of reauthorizing the powers for the FBI to continue behaving how they've behaved, which is as a law unto themselves. I mean, who is following up with the exchanges that the deputy director of the FBI, Paul Abate, had with Senators Cruz and Hawley and Blackburn this week, stonewalling on the existence of things that are alleged by an FBI informant, somebody on their payroll that they apparently trusted, the willingness to disclose to a Senate committee that has oversight responsibilities, the any sort of indication of investigation, time horizon, perspective on this issue and so many other issues, particularly given the rather ignominious history of the FBI over, I don't know, the last 60 years. I mean, yeah, there have been, they've caught a lot of people, Unabomber and child sexual predators, and they've also, for every one of those high profile, you've got a Richard Jewell, and you've got a anthrax case, and you got that that doctor for the Olympic gymnasts, and you got the Russian collusion hoax, and you got J. Edgar Hoover, doing within his enemies list back in the 60s, targeting civil rights leaders. So, I mean, and so where are the people today saying, hey, what you're saying and what I know to be true are two different things, and I'm in a position to question.
But they don't question. You have your New York Times, your Washington Post, your Chicago Tribune, LA Times. They aren't asking those questions. They have been co-opted into the status quo, or they're in on the joke.
They're the com shop of the Democrat
Party.
That's all they are.
Absolutely are. That's what they are, and they don't question anymore. I mean, the Chicago Tribune, do they even have a bureau in Washington anymore?
Would it matter?
Would it matter? But I don't know that they even do. You don't have correspondence, for instance. We spent over $100 billion in Ukraine. how many reporters are actually on the ground over there? Actually, war correspondents, Richard Threlkeld in Da Nang, that kind of thing. We saw it back in the day. We don't have that anymore.
And there again, I mean, to your point about lying and reporting and in the context of war, we have shouldn't have been done this way, but we have the documents that were leaked by that Massachusetts Air National Guardsman that indicate that the party line we've been hearing from the Pentagon and the White House is not what they really believe.
Absolutely. If you aren't on the internet, if you aren't on YouTube, if you aren't looking for divergent voices on that situation, you are getting a total bald-faced lie. I mean, what's going on the ground over there is something entirely different than we're hearing in mainstream media. Absolutely. Or at least there's another story out there, and it's being told by credible people. Even what Putin says is not being reported. They aren't reporting what he says and what the Russians are doing. And certainly he has his own reasons, Putin, for what he did in Ukraine. We don't hear about that.
I mean, hell, they don't even, other than the Wall Street Journal, because he's an employee. I mean, it was wall-to-wall when Brittany Griner was arrested. Evan Gersovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter who's been wrongly imprisoned by Putin, where's the wall-to-wall pressure on that? I mean, it's all just, whatever, even though if you asked some of them, something that's so obvious, like, oh, that's uncontroversial, no one supports that, and everybody wants Evan Gersovich to be returned home safely and so forth. But so, well, then why aren't you pressing the issue? Well, because that's not where the emphasis is right now, according to the White House, and so we fly in formation with them.
As somebody who studied journalism at the University of Missouri, which was the first journalism school ever, anywhere, in the early 1970s, during the Watergate investigation and such, my first job was in the early 70s. I wouldn't do it again. If I saw what is going on now in American journalism, I wouldn't do it the way I certainly did it. I mean, which is moving through mainstream media. If I weren't YouTubing or being a independent neighborhood reporter, there's no way. Why would I want to be, Don Lemon?
Well,
or any of these people.
Even more to the point, if you were not willing to play that role, you wouldn't be able to do it.
No, you absolutely not. Because and I think the reason I got into the game was that I wanted to pursue truth, and right now it's not about truth; it's about narrative. What you're reporting is to support a narrative, not the facts. Or you can get the facts, but the facts, the way you report them, are to support the narrative. And that is an absolute offense when it comes to classic journalism. You don't do that.
Mike in Plano, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, guys. Dan, you alluded to this a moment ago when you're talking about the weeds of the story, and one big problem Democrats have with their Trump persecutions, going all the way back to the Russian collusion coup, is that they can't tell a good story and they can't sell a good story. Back when the Russian collusion stuff was going on, I remember seeing a compilation of Rachel Maddow clips where all she was doing was just blurting out these names of these weird Russian people that you never heard of, and she was trying to use some 7 degrees of separation to tie them to Trump. And even Sean Hannity did that with the Uranium One scandal, where he had a map full of names with lines drawn connecting to them. And the reason I bring that up is these stories, along with this classified documents scandal, they're boring. They're too complicated. I don't care. So if the Democrats think that average Americans are going to go head over heels to find out what Trump did or didn't do with boxes of papers in the basement of his house, I mean, they're delusional if they think people are going to care longer than a few days about this stuff. There's just no there.
He's saying what I said.
Yeah.
What's the motive? Why did he do it? If you tell the American people that he was doing it
What's the threat that he posed? Why did he do it, and what's the threat, right? I mean, I think, there's something to that. But remember, that's why they just had Adam Schiff on the talk shows for 2 years, making assertions and references to smoking guns that would soon be presented that never were presented, because they're not interested in, and they don't believe they need to provide any evidentiary basis for what they do. They can just repeat and repeat and repeat and propagandize and have the hysterics on the cable news channels talk about threats to democracy and existential threats to a free society and marginalized communities being targeted and everything else under the sun. And your takeaway is, I don't know any of the specifics, but I know that Trump's a bad guy, or that he's a Russian agent, or that he's colluding with this, or that he broke the law here, because it's just bored into my head. And I'm inclined to believe the worst anyway, because I'm either left or I'm center left and really not terribly informed, not paying that close of attention, or I'm center right and I just don't like Trump's personality and some of his hijinks and some of his tweets, and so I'm inclined to believe the worst about him. It's not about making a case. It's not about the beyond a reasonable doubt or even preponderance of the evidence. It's not about any of that in the political arena. It's just smearing. It's just relentless smearing. So the takeaway is bad, and you don't need to know the details. You just throw out sort of the phraseology you hear from one of these, fork-tongued Pauls, or what's the difference? Fork-tongued cable news readers. Bob in Buffalo Grove, quickly.
Good morning, Dan, and good to hear you, Mr. Thomas. 50 years ago, this seems to have some parallels to Watergate. I'm looking for our deep throat. Who within the FBI is going to come forward and really show what's going on with Biden Inc.?
Well, thanks for the call, Bob. I get the point. We got to go. We'll see. Maybe it's that FBI confidential informant who's telling us, making all these allegations, I should say, about bribery. We'll see. Don't know. We'll see. All right, now we turn it over to Mike Scott for the headlines.
Illinois Gaming Board approves Medina Temple as a temporary casino site. Possible World War II rocket found in an Antioch backyard. Chicago Police Board votes to fire the sergeant in charge of the botched Ann Jeanette Young raid. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
Death and destruction in Texas. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, especially in the small city of Perryton. It took a direct tornado hit.
It took a tanker truck and threw it into a pasture. It had all of the lines were knocked down.
Sabrina Devers tells Fox Weather.
We're an oil field and ranching community, and the buildings were just flattened.
3 people were killed, dozens more injured as the storms did damage in Texas into Oklahoma, where there was huge hail. There are about 500,000 power outages from Oklahoma to Texas to Louisiana, over to Alabama and Florida, where a person was killed when a tree fell on a home in Pensacola, and there's the threat of more storms today. The U.S. is under cyber attack.
So the Department of Homeland Security confirming multiple U.S. federal agencies have been hit by a global cyber attack carried out by a Russian-linked extortion group, which has already claimed responsibility for it. According to AP, the Department of Energy, several other federal agencies were compromised.
Fox Business Network Cheryl Casoni says the hack involves a file transfer program, and there could be hundreds of other victims, from private industry to higher education institutions to a few state motor vehicle agencies. A jury will continue deliberating a second day in Pittsburgh at the trial of Robert Bowers in a 2018 synagogue attack that left 11 people dead.
He faces 63 counts that include hate crimes and obstruction of free exercise of religion resulting in death. Prosecutors closed, saying Bowers' hatred for Jews fueled his deadly actions. Bowers' defense called no witnesses and never denied in 11 days of testimony that Bowers was the man behind the attack.
That's Fox's Gernal Scott. Bowers could get the death penalty. In Florida, they finally killed a killer who was on death row almost 40 years. Dwayne Owen's last word was no when asked if he had a final statement. Then he got a lethal injection for murdering a mother and a teenage babysitter in 1984.
skies right now are mostly cloudy. 6:02 on AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. There's an investigation underway after a possible World War II rocket was located in unincorporated Antioch. Deputies responded yesterday to a home after a homeowner dug out an item out of their backyard that resembles that World War II anti-tank rocket. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island, scheduled to appear in Chicago federal court, changing her plea to guilty on charges she helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. Heather Mack was convicted in Indonesia, being an accessory to Sheila von Wiesmack's murder. A temporary Chicago casino could open soon. The Illinois Gaming Board approving a proposal allowing Bally's to continue preparing the old Medina Temple in River North for gaming.
It is important for everyone to understand that preliminary suitability is just that. It is preliminary.
Temporary casino could pop up later this summer and operate until a permanent one is built. A federal jury convicts a businessman of bribing 2 former state lawmakers in order to change the state laws in his favor. James Weiss of River Grove was found guilty in a scheme involving the bribing of former state rep Luis Arroyo and ex-state senator Terry Link. West Nile virus being reported in 4 Illinois counties this year. The Department of Public Health says now Cook, LaSalle, Morgan, and St. Clair counties have seen batches of positive West Nile mosquitoes. And Shaquille O'Neal's Big Chicken fast food restaurant is coming to the Chicago area. The eatery set to open its first Midwest location in Rosemont next month. Cubs swept the Pirates in a 7-2 win on the north side, while the White Sox fell in 11 to the Dodgers 5-4. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 6:30 on AM 560, The Answer. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk explains what we've become.
79 years ago, 77,000 U.S. troops participated in what is now known as D-Day. So what gets considered to be brave today? Basically the exact opposite. Today we have California State Senator Scott Wiener celebrating drag queens, as this is the symbol of bravery. Those are the new heroes.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day. Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
Attention taxpayers. If you or your business owe the IRS back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, the IRS has greenlighted billions of dollars in tax relief to those facing financial hardship through its tax relief initiatives. If you have a delinquent tax problem and possibly facing wage garnishment, liens, levies, audits, or already in a payment plan, you may now qualify for significant relief. Qualifying and enrolling in this program could stop all collections, settle your tax problem, and may even reduce what you owe by up to 99%. Call the hotline at Tax Help USA to see if you qualify and receive your free tax assessment by dialing 800-419-0017. If you or your business owe back taxes to the IRS or state, you can now get the help that you need during these hard economic times. Get your free tax assessment to see what you qualify for by dialing 800-419-0017. 800-419-0017. That's 800-419-0017.
It is 6:08. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that, of course, in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center and this updated service of MyPillow, the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Buy one, get one free with promo code Liberty. Visit MyPillow.com. Use promo code Liberty. Kennedy inbound 35 O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike on the inbound side starting out at 31,390 to the old post office. I-55 jammed up on the southbound side between Weber and Route 126. Construction bottling up 2 right-hand lanes. Disabled vehicle on the Tri-State. It's on the northbound side, and a shoulder is blocked between 47th and 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
High waves and dangerous currents along Lake Michigan this afternoon. Hazy sun today, high 81. Clear tonight, low 53. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, high 73. Sunny to partly cloudy. Nice day on Saturday, high at 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
55 at O'Hare. Next news, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas, and we've got another incident in New York. Of course you do. And you're going to have more incidents like this in big cities across the country. Big cities whose political leadership have turned their streets over to repeat violent offenders. And you're not allowed to defend yourself. Some people disagree. Jordan Williams is one of them. Jordan Williams and his girlfriend were on the subway when a 36-year-old ex-con began harassing commuters aboard the train. He walked up to Williams's girlfriend and asked, "Want to have sex?" but he didn't say have sex. Williams told the man to get away from them, but he kept harassing Jordan Williams's girlfriend. So Williams pushed him away and told him not to come closer. Then the assailant punched Jordan Williams' girlfriend in the face. Then, according to police, the deceased, now deceased, spoiler alert, took one step to the defendant and punched the defendant 1 or 2 times. He removed a folding knife and stabbed the deceased in the chest. The deceased got off the train at Marcy Avenue and collapsed on the platform dead. Jordan Williams is being charged with manslaughter and illegal possession of a weapon. 25 years in prison is possible under the first charge, while the second could tack on an extra 12 months. The illegal possession of a folding knife. Okay. Anyway, here we go again. Daniel Penny, part 2.
Well,
Charles.
One thing, I'm reading the story, and it doesn't indicate at this point the races of the defendant and the
Jordan Williams is black.
Jordan
There's
Williams
a picture
is
of him. He's black. He's a
Okay.
20-year-old black gentleman, and we know the name. I haven't seen a picture of him, but we know the name of the deceased. But the important point about the deceased is that, well, the important point about the deceased is what he did.
Right,
And
well,
then the fact that he's an ex-con, and we don't have the full details on that, but speaks to this point that I relentlessly make about repeat violent offenders turned out onto big city streets.
And real men are going to defend themselves and the ones they love. And a lot of us who watch the Penny case say to ourselves, man, if my wife, my daughter, or my teenage granddaughter are on the train and some guy starts doing what, what's the guy's name that Jordan
Williams,
Jordan
is the guy
Neely.
who defended. Jordan Neely.
Jordan Neely.
Jordan
What Jordan
yeah.
Neely was doing.
Right.
I would pray that there would be somebody like Daniel Penny on the train who would step in and defend the passengers. I mean, I think any father, grandfather, brother of a female family member would want a man like that to do that. And so I think it's going to be very difficult, really, to find a jury in New York City, even, of people that would include fathers, grandfathers, brothers, who would convict him. Because
I'll tell you what, that might include the judge, because the ADA asked the judge to impose a $100,000 cash bail on Jordan Williams. He's from Queens. And the judge said, no.
Yeah, good for him.
I don't believe you pose a flight risk. I just don't. I think you have your whole life ahead of you, and I think you have every reason to fight this case with the support of your family. Wow. There's a statement at a bail hearing in terms of what the judge thinks about the quality of this case.
And the quality of the prosecutor's office for bringing it.
Yeah, well,
I mean, because that is the real question here. It seems like this Stratton guy, what's his name, in New York?
Alvin Bragg.
Alvin Bragg. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He's trying to
Manhattan.
It seems like he's showing off, for the crowd. I mean, it's like he's playing to the crowd, the liberal crowd in New York City, as opposed to using what should be common sense, prosecutorial discretion in these cases. Because let's face it, these people are out there. They're riding the trains. A lot of them they have mental problems, and they aren't being medicated, or they haven't been medicated, and there are no more institutions. They're on the street. Well, and we got to deal with them. I mean, what do? You got to defend your family.
Well, to be fair to Alvin Bragg, that's how fair I am. I'm even being willing to be fair to Alvin Bragg. This is in Brooklyn, so the district attorney the district attorney there is Eric Gonzalez. But that's the point. It doesn't matter. The names don't even matter in these big cities. Brooklyn district attorney is Jane Doe, John Doe. It doesn't matter. They all are doing the same things. Alvin Bragg, Eric Gonzalez, Kim Fox, Larry Krasner. On and on and on. And so Jordan Williams, the Brooklyn DA's office, wants to prosecute because you can't take the law into your own hands. Now, we're not going to enforce the law against habitual criminals, but you don't take the law into your own hands. That's what we're here for. But we're not going to do our job, but you don't take the...
Yeah.
Square that circle.
You can't square it. And at what point are you able to defend yourself? I mean, it's his girlfriend.
You punched he comes up, wanna blank. So, I mean, it's just, and then he instigates a fight, and his girlfriend gets hit in the face, and he's going to defend himself because this guy instigated the fight. So the question, did he escalate? Is the response proportional? I mean, do you have a reason to fear for serious bodily harm? Yeah, I think you do after a guy punches a woman in the face.
You have to have a right to defend yourself. And I think they want to take that right away. I mean, you can. I don't want to go down the road, but I mean, it's even the whole Second Amendment debate, if you will, that
you can't be right. You can't be trusted to defend yourself.
Can't be trusted to defend yourself.
We want to defund police. We want to release criminals. Don't you dare take the law into your own hands. And frankly, I don't even think this is taking the law into your own hands. The dude is with his girlfriend on the train, minding his own business, and this guy brings the fight to him. That's not taking the law into your own hands. That is legitimately defending oneself. And I would say the same thing, of course, about Daniel Penny and the others who restrained Jordan Neely in Manhattan. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
I didn't know you couldn't carry a knife in New York City.
Folding knife.
Yeah.
I mean, right. Yeah. Well, good. Again, you know what? They should ban folding knives.
Well, that be If in fact they're considered concealed weapons.
The real story in this case is for criminal possession of a weapon. That's only 12 months. Make it a minimum mandatory. Put them away for life. Send them to the chair. I mean, it's so upside down. And again, like you said, there's this clip that we played yesterday from Jordan Peterson, an interview you did with John Stossel about men, since you brought that up, and about men vis-a-vis the women in their lives, specifically their wife, their daughter, their mother. And this idea that men need to be dangerous. You're not a threat, but you're dangerous. Jordan Williams, this young dude on the train, he wasn't a threat, but he was dangerous because he was willing to defend himself and his girlfriend. Take a listen, see if this resonates.
There's a big difference between letting people do something for themselves and saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it, but that doesn't mean you should use it. There's nothing to you otherwise. Like if you're not a formidable force, there's no morality in your self-control. If you're incapable of violence, not being violent isn't a virtue. People who teach martial arts know this full well, right? If you learn a martial art, you learn to be dangerous, but simultaneously you learn to control it. Both of those come together. And the combination of that capacity for danger and the capacity for control is what brings about the virtue. Otherwise you confuse weakness with moral virtue. I'm harmless, therefore I'm good. It's like, no. That isn't how it works. That isn't how it works at all. If you're harmless, you're just weak. And if you're weak, you're not going to be good. You can't be, because it takes strength to be good. It's very difficult to be good.
Yeah, if you're harmless, you can't be good. Can't be. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Verlon, Southside.
Okay, first I want to ask, did you, so I can say what I say the right way, did you say Bragg is bringing this case or another DA?
No, Brooklyn.
That was mistaken on my part.
Brooklyn DA. His name is Eric Gonzalez, but apparently he's a Bragg acolyte or impersonator.
Okay, if it would have been Bragg, I would have said that he's only bringing the case to show that he's not racist, because he's charging a white guy on the other case. But since it's this DA, what I'm going to say is, in New York, I think they have a law. You have to meet force with equal force, and they probably feel like the knife was overkill because the other guy didn't have a weapon. And I know in Chicago, you can carry a knife, but it can't be over 6 inches, and you have the duty to retreat. So you really can't even use the knife unless your life is truly in
except
danger.
there's two things. One is when the guy came up and propositioned his girlfriend, he just waved him off. Get the hell out of here. And the ex-con persisted, and he escalated. And you can't retreat because you're in a closed space. You're on a train. And he struck the girlfriend in the face. Now I have fear for my girlfriend's serious bodily harm and my serious bodily harm, and I'm bringing a knife to this fist fight.
That
works for me. That works for me.
I'm with you, but you know how those people feel. They don't want you to have the right to defend yourself. So that's how it goes.
Thanks for the call. Well, the interesting thing about this is, because the left has tried to martyr Jordan Neely as George Floyd 2.0.
He makes a good point, though, that I thought that my initial instinct is this some kind of balancing act so that they can get Daniel Penny? Because here we got a black guy. We're prosecuting a black guy too.
Well, how is that? Yeah, but right. So how's that going to be received? How's that going to be received by all those that were protesting down at the subway? No justice, no peace, and blah blah blah, so on and so forth.
Well,
are they going to protest against Jordan Williams's prosecution or for it?
Well, that's a problem. I mean, that's what people have to begin to understand, that they are being manipulated by these people on the left. They're being manipulated into a racial situation where there is none. They're actually looking. These people are looking for racism now. Where it does, and when they find it, they blow it up.
Or
that's our media.
And when they don't find it, they just invent it.
Of course, but they got to have it, because that's how they manipulate the black vote, so that they can win the cities of New York, Chicago, other places where the black vote is critical enough that it can swing an election one way or another.
Not to mention,
and they know that. The Democrats know that.
Not to mention the daffy suburban housewives in Hinsdale or River Forest who think the same.
Yeah,
because out of guilt and sentiment, they're on board with all this silliness.
And they try to make you think that Billy Bob in Podunk, who has a pickup truck with the Confederate flag, is the bad guy.
Right.
And he's the guy that's keeping Ray Ray on the west side down, when in fact it is the elitists who are keeping both sides down. They want Ray Ray on the west side and Billy Bob from Podunk fighting each other, because that's how they manipulate us.
Yeah.
That's how they're getting away with this.
And then nobody turns their sights on me.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens. And that's why I don't want to go back to last fall in the election when I was telling people, hey, telling black people, you got a lot more in common with Darren Bailey than you have with JB. JB's a billionaire. Darren Bailey's a working man. Come on. You didn't get it? I think people are slowly coming around. They're coming around to figure it out that we're being manipulated, black and white. Working people are being manipulated by the elitists who are the Democrats.
Well, here's somebody who hasn't figured it out yet. Philip in Blue Island, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Oh, my goodness. Good morning. It's kind of funny he's talking about the elitists, but we're supposed to believe that Trump is supposed to be some type of a billionaire, and he's able to connect with us. That's a ridiculous argument. This whole thing, well, my question is, we have two mentally ill people in Penny and in this guy, Jordan.
Penny? I'm sorry, Penny's mentally ill?
I only say that because he's a Marine. I don't know what kind of post-traumatic stress that me being a...
so I see. He was a Marine, so we're going to assume he has PTSD and he's mentally ill. What are you talking about? Can you just stick to what you actually know rather than these stories you make up in your head to defend these ridiculous positions? Honorably discharged from the Marines. And interestingly, he was at Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, so he's probably going to get some class action money out of this on the back end, and maybe to pay his frickin' legal bills if GoFundMe doesn't cover it all, because of goons that you support, like Alvin Bragg, Philip in Blue Island. Call back when you have some actual facts upon which you want to make a comment or offer an argument or ask a question. He probably has PTSD. This is what you're dealing with. What the fuck?
Well, you look for it. You got to, show me.
Daniel Penny is mentally ill. How do you know that? I don't. I just maybe it could be. Sure. Yeah. Phil in Blue Island, you should run for Cook County State's attorney. Kim Fox isn't running again. Corey in Woodlawn.
Good morning, gentlemen. Charles A. Murray talks about this in his book. He says that we have to have civil disobedience now because the law and what's right are on two different sides of the spectrum now. And we need to understand that the left is looking for the next George Floyd moment to interrupt the election cycle. So we all have to be concerned. We all have to be vigilant. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for helping us end this segment with intelligence, Corey. We appreciate it.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one. Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Everyone knows that crime is on the rise. It's imperative that law enforcement agents have the information they need to keep citizens safe and protect themselves as well. If you are a sworn law enforcement agent certified in the state of Illinois and working for an agency in Illinois, you might be interested in this announcement. Would you like to have an on-the-job decision-making tool at your fingertips? Law enforcement agency data systems information is available to you at an affordable price when you use the Illinois Public Safety Agency Network products, Bullet or Mini Bullet. Your Android or Apple-based handheld mobile device, phone or tablet can receive this data. In addition, your desktop or laptop can also receive this information via the internet. Just call the Illinois Public Safety Agency Network at 773-693-3000 or visit ipsan.org. And pilot Bullet or Mini Bullet. That's 773-693-3000 or visit ipsan.org.
Think back to a time when you were doing a physically demanding activity and you wanted to keep going, but you just didn't have the energy to. Having the right nutrition can make a huge difference between energy and long-lasting energy. That's why it's so important to nourish our bodies with the right kind of fuel, and there's no better way of doing that than with fruits and vegetables. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/FREE. ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. By the way, I know that Daniel Penny isn't in line for any of the settlement money from the water contamination in Camp Lejeune. I understand. I've seen all the trial lawyer commercials. I understand it's 35 years old in terms of the deadline. I was just engaged in a little literary license. All right, coming up at 6:36. Hey, tonight's the nuns, the Sisters of Perpetual Depravity at Chavez Ravine. We're going to talk about that game and that decision by the Dodgers and what it says about American culture and its attitude towards Catholics and Christians generally. Father John Lavelle, president and co-founder of Coalition for Canceled Priests at 6:36. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
54 degrees at 6:32. Canadian police say a bus carrying seniors to a casino collided with a semi at a highway intersection in the Canadian province of Manitoba Thursday, killing 15 so far, injuring 10 more. Government agencies are working urgently on a damage assessment after several U.S. agencies and state agencies were hit by a global cyber attack.
U.S. cybersecurity officials said on Thursday that the ransomware attack appears to be part of a widespread and coordinated effort to exploit a vulnerability in a widely used software. Cybersecurity Chief Jen Easterly said based on their assessment, the hackers were opportunistic and not looking to steal high-value information. She added that they are not aware of any hackers threatening to extort or release any data stolen from U.S. government agencies. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Emergency resources are deployed in the Texas Panhandle, where a tornado touched down, killing 3.
Tornado traveled on an easterly direction across town, doing a lot of damage, particularly to mobile homes, businesses, and other homes in the areas.
The twister tore through the town of Perryton, north of Amarillo. Pfizer warning of a shortage of penicillin supplies. The pharmaceutical giant saying in a letter to customers this week there is an impending stock-out situation. We're learning the identities of 2 Americans found dead in a Mexican resort due to unusual circumstances.
The victim's family says after arriving at the upscale resort, they began to feel ill, went to the hospital suspecting food poisoning, but returned after they felt well. The next day, they were discovered inside their room.
Abby Lutz was 28, John Heathcote, 41. The Baja California Sur Police in Mexico say the victims died this week of intoxication by an unknown substance. The Department of Justice is expected to reveal results of a years-long investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department this morning. The investigation was launched after the death of George Floyd. An investigation is underway after a possible World War II rocket was located in unincorporated Antioch. Bomb squad members removed the object and took that device to an undisclosed location for detonation. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island is scheduled to appear in federal court to change her plea to guilty on charges that Heather Mack helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. A temporary Chicago casino could open soon. The gaming board approving a temporary proposal that allows Bally's to continue preparations on the old Medina Temple in River North. 2 Chicago police officers are suspended in the shooting of an armed man in 2018. The police board voting to suspend officers David Taylor and Larry Lanier for 10 days. Both were accused of using unnecessary deadly force for firing at Terrell Eason. Eason was running away holding a gun in his right hand at the time of the incident. And from the I bet you didn't know this file, the Illinois Department of Natural Resources is reminding the public this week that importing and possessing live red swamp crayfish is banned in the state. Now, swamp crayfish are also known as crawfish or Louisiana crawfish. Any individuals and businesses that import, sell, or possess live crawfish in the state of Illinois are subject to stiff fines and penalties. Cubs swept the Pirates with a 7-2 win, while the White Sox fell to the Dodgers in 11, 5-4. The news service of MyPillow, the brand new MyPillow 2.0, is now buy one, get one free with promo code LIBERTY. And a check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum explains what will win in 2024.
If you were just running for the Republican ticket, then just keep being far-right extreme Republican, and you're going to win. But if you think you're going to get people in the middle, you're going to win an election. You have to be more than the Republicans love you, but the Democrats hate you more. You cannot win with that theology.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 7, right before Jay Sekulow at 9 on AM 560. The Answer.
A storm is on the horizon, and you need to keep the lights on no matter what. Your business relies on the power being on 24/7. It's the lifeblood of your data and computer systems. Weather-related outages from the power company are not acceptable. Your need for a source of power that's reliable 24/7, along with round-the-clock service that can dispatch technicians to your site immediately, is mission critical. Your business needs Charles Equipment Energy Systems on speed dial. These are the big boys, not residential or solar, but reliable industrial generators for emergency backup or events. When you need more than a 100-foot extension cord plugged into a small engine generator, call Charles Equipment Energy Systems. They keep the lights on with rental generators for job sites or power outages. A storm is on the horizon. Plan ahead. Call now to prepare generators for storms and potential power outages. Call 630-834-6000, 630-834-6000, or charlesequipment.com.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 844-41-BIBLE. That's 844-41-BIBLE. 844-41-BIBLE.
6:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And it is a service of Verizon. Ready to take control of your phone plan? You better make that next turn into a Verizon store. Get exactly what you want. Only pay for what you need. Get my plan at your Verizon store today. Inbound Kennedy 42 O'Hare to the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 37 from 390 into the old post office. Stop and go traffic Manheim through Oak Park Avenue, and delays on the tri-state due to an earlier accident. It's northbound between Plainfield and 31st. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds give way to sun. We'll top out at 71. At 6:39, it's time to visit signaturebank.bank. Time to check those morning temperatures. 55 at O'Hare, 51 Lakefront, and now 50 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, Andy, and for Amy J. This morning is former 87 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Good morning.
Today is an important day in Christian liturgy, the Solemnity of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. And to celebrate that, the Dodgers are hosting a black mass at Chavez Ravine. Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence, Perpetual Depravity, I prefer, known for mocking Catholicism to raise money for LGBTQ++. The Dodgers entertainment tonight, for which they will confer a Community Hero Award. Jesus the Condom Savior with a latex hose, a psychedelic rising from the dead, burning the Pope in effigy, serving Holy Communion wafers with tequila, at a mock mass with Pope Dementia's altered boys, culminating with pro-choice Mary's abortion. Play ball. Trevor Williams is a starting pitcher for the Washington Reagans, as I call them. I believe they're technically called the Nationals. I prefer Reagans.
The Washington
Reagans.
Okay.
I mean, if they can change the Redskins to the Commanders, I can change the Nationals to the Reagans. Trevor Williams has been one of the few ball players to speak out against this. He sat down for an interview with EWTN to offer his perspective on what the Dodgers are doing.
We cannot stand idly by while our Lord gets mocked. And before I hit send, you try and do as much research as you can, right? You see the horrific videos that were posted of them. You read about what they were trying to do, these things that are deeply offensive to us. And then you see that, well, they're doing these things. They're raising money for this, that, and the other. They've been doing it for over 30 years. But it was the point when the Dodgers re-invited them after knowing very well what they've been doing for the last 30 years.
To give them a Community Hero Award.
Correct. And at that point, I looked at the Dodgers Code of Conduct. I'm like, look, or the Dodgers Fan Code of Conduct, and it said you cannot wear anything or say anything that goes against anybody's age, gender, creed, religion. And at that point, it was like, this is going against their code of conduct. It's a blatant anti-Catholic message that they're sending, regardless of how much, quote unquote, good they've been doing in their community. But when I saw how deeply offensive it was, doing awful things to the cross, doing awful things about Stations of the Cross, like it became a point where these negatives are not, they shouldn't be honored, and they shouldn't mock a certain group.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Father John Lavelle. He's the president and co-founder of Coalition for Canceled Priests. It's essentially a coalition of priests who actually believe in the catechism, even though many in the church hierarchy no longer do. Like, say, for example, Cardinal Supich. They have a conference coming up, a House United. That's June 23rd and 24th at the Hilton Rosemont, at O'Hare. And you can get more information on the organization and that event, canceledpriests.org, canceledpriests.org. Father Lavelle, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan and Charles, good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Feast of the Sacred Heart to you.
So what's your perspective on the Dodgers, and as has been now much talked about, the extending the invitation, going to confer this award, rescinding the invitation, re-extending the invitation after they got pressure from the LGBTQ++, and calls from people like Bishop Robert Barron to boycott the Dodgers. Should people show up and boo, or should they just stay away?
Well, fortunately, there are many Catholics, including one of our own canceled priest, Father James Altman, that is going to be there today protesting right outside the stadium. Sadly, only one bishop in the entire country is going to be there as well, Bishop Strickland of Tyler, Texas, a small diocese in Texas. Unfortunately, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles released a statement that they're stepping back from the conversation, and they're discouraging Catholics in Los Angeles from participating, which is sad. They got blowback for that, and so now Archbishop Gomez of Los Angeles is going to have a mass this afternoon, I believe, in reparation to the Sacred Heart. And finally, the USCCB, the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops, released a statement finally calling what's happening blasphemy, that it's lewdness and vulgarity. But they don't even mention the Dodgers. They don't even mention the name. They just say a professional baseball team. And I think of Archbishop Gomez and the USCCB, if this was a rally in support of illegal immigration, they would be on the front lines. If this was a rally in support of anything to do with the environment, they would be on the front lines. But you have a group that openly mocks Catholicism, which sadly in this country, and now probably for many decades, is still the only tolerable bigotry that's allowed. It's just sad.
Well, you. This is Charles, Father, but it seems like the Catholic Church is just thoroughly disorganized, that they don't have a purpose anymore. That if you can't come together on something like this, what can you come together on? I mean, this is a direct affront to the faith.
This is a direct affront, Charles, to the faith. I always like to remind people that the Holy Ghost is in charge. that he will not let his church falter. However, members of the church, whether laity or clergy, and even bishops and cardinals, can fail. We've seen that in the 2,000-year history of our faith. There have been many bad bishops, there's been many bad cardinals, and there's even been very many bad popes. We're in one of those times right now where we see the faith just not being allowed to flourish, unfortunately, by its shepherds. I will remind the audience, in fact, many probably don't know, that in the early 1960s, the city of Los Angeles was going to cut busing to Catholic schools, claiming for funding reasons. The Cardinal Archbishop of Los Angeles at the time basically closed all the Catholic schools, flooded the public school system, and the public school system came to the Archbishop begging him to reopen the schools, promising him busing. And he said, I want busing and I also want milk for all of my students. Mm-hmm. Those days are gone.
Really?
Now you see cardinals like Supich just bend the knee to J.B. Pritzker. You see the archbishops and bishops of California bend the knee to Newsom, especially when it comes to the COVID mandates. And should we be surprised that this is happening? And we want to encourage, as the Coalition for Canceled Priests, all Catholics of goodwill, to stand up and say, this is ridiculous, and this should not be supported, whether it happens at Dodger Stadium or anywhere. Bigotry should not be allowed, period.
Well, also, too, I mean, it's even just a cultural commentary that extends beyond Catholicism. You really want us to put on a show steeped in depravity for your fans and confer a community hero award with the imprint of your organization? That you want your organization to be tied to this organization. The comment that provides on culture is really staggering. I don't know how else to. The idea. I mean, and by the way, Catholic Vote did a good spot on this too. CatholicVote.org, our friend Brian Birch and company. The Dodgers being ahead of the learning curve with Jackie Robinson, and now the Dodgers, fast forward to the 21st century, and this is where they're affiliated. The old Dodgers versus the new Dodgers. Big difference.
It's a huge difference, and we need to get politics really out of sports. And I know that might be cliche to say, but, sports are supposed to be a place where Americans of all stripes can go to have some good, wholesome entertainment. And if baseball is America's pastime, then why are they purposely trying to go after a quarter of the country, that is Catholics, and attacking them? And it's really, really sad, Dan. And we have to pray for that conversion. We have to pray that it stops, because all we're doing is calling down God's wrath by mocking him like this.
We can criticize the Dodgers, but I mean, personally, I think the bigger problem is the church, quite frankly, for not more actively and in a unified sense speaking out against it.
Well, to your point, and Father, if the church was stronger, this wouldn't be happening.
I completely agree. The bishops ceded the moral high ground decades ago. What they need to do to get it back is stand up and actually, as you said at the beginning of the segment, follow the catechism. Follow what the church teaches perennially throughout the ages, and tell people what is right and what is wrong. This is wrong, plain and simple. To allow a group to openly mock and then to say, well, we're just going to take a step back, and we discourage fellow Catholics from protesting this in a prayerful, peaceful way. Well, that is not only un-American, it's un-Catholic. And Charles, you're absolutely right. The bishops have lost their moral authority. They've lost it decades ago. And if they want to start to learn how to get it back, it is standing up to this evil. And so with that said, God bless Bishop Strickland, who's not even a bishop of California, going out there and protesting.
He is Father John Lavelle, president and co-founder of the Coalition for Canceled Priests. They have a conference coming up this month, June 23rd, 24th at the Hilton Rosemont. And you can get more information on that. Good speakers, Abby Johnson, John Henry Weston from lifesite.com, and others. Canceledpriest.org is the website, canceledpriest.org. Father Lavelle, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan and Charles.
You join us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I want to invite you to join me and my very good friend, former gubernatorial candidate Gary Rabine, along with presidential advisor and noted economist with dirty glasses Stephen Moore, for a very special dinner at Bull Valley Country Club in Woodstock on Wednesday, June 21st, celebrating the incredible work being done by Job Creators Network, including their efforts to have the Biden administration's vaccine mandate struck down by the Supreme Court, and much more. Job Creators Network has been working hard to stop the Biden administration's student loan bailout. Join Gary and me, along with Steve Moore, as we support the work of JCN. No other organization is fighting harder for freedom, small business, and the American dream than JCN. To reserve your seat or an entire table at the dinner Wednesday, June 21st, go to 560theanswer.com/JCN. That's 560theanswer.com/JCN, and learn more about Job Creators Network at jobcreatorsnetwork.com.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
It's a big deal because your finances are a really big deal. Wintrust Community Banks would like to announce our newest and greatest 11-month CD rate with a whopping 5.35% APY. Act now and you can lock in 5.35%. Just go to wintrust.com/locknewrates and start earning more. Annual percentage yield accurate as of May 5th, 2023 and assumes funds remain on deposit until maturity. Minimum daily balance of 1 cent required to obtain APY. $1,000 minimum to open. New money only. Offer may change at any time and without notice. Member FDIC.
When this is the sound of a waterfall in nature, there's no cause for concern. But when it's the sound of water gushing through your living room ceiling because a pipe bursts inside the wall, there's reason to panic unless you pick up the phone and call 1-800-SERVPRO. Only the cleanup and restoration specialists at ServPro can help make fire and water damage like it never even happened. So make the call to 1-800-SERVPRO at the first sign of water damage. Franchises are independently owned and operated.
Hi, I'm Test Director Rick from ServPro, the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. It's my job to make sure our pros are prepared for anything. Storm damage? Fixed. Flood damage? We're on it. Fire damage? Not anymore. Aliens? What? Aliens? We cleaned those sites a while ago. No matter the disaster, our pros will make it like it never even happened. Find out why ServPro is the #1 choice for residential and commercial restoration projects large and small. Visit servpro.com today.
You're smart, you're busy, and don't have time to waste on the mainstream media cycle. Salem News Channel breaks that cycle. Topics that matter from hosts worth watching. Dinesh D'Souza, Andrew Wilkow, Brandon Tatum, and more. Open debate and free speech you won't find anywhere else. Salem News Channel, not like the other guys. Watch anytime on any screen, free 24/7. Find everything you need to know at snc.tv. That's snc.tv.
Think back to a time when you were doing a physically demanding activity and you wanted to keep going, but you just didn't have the energy to. Having the right nutrition can make a huge difference between energy and long-lasting energy. That's why it's so important to nourish our bodies with the right kind of fuel, And there's no better way of doing that than with fruits and vegetables. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Don't defund the police. Hire the police to protect your business. Rising crime has been crippling business owners in Illinois more and more in the past year. Blue Star Security can protect your most valuable asset, your business, to protect both you and your customers. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 500 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Barchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. Our team is exclusively state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals who provide the highest standards in security. We serve Fortune 500 companies, as well as small businesses and individuals, responding rapidly and seamlessly to each assignment. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityltd.com. That's bluestarsecurityltd.com.
It's almost time for the annual AM 560 Golf and eat a breakfast or dinner. Business owners, when you purchase a foursome, you'll receive 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 to promote your business and a free digital marketing analysis. And this year, we have twosomes available in addition to foursomes. Reserve your spot today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Joe Cotton Ford and Carroll Stream, Crosscom Public Adjusters, Waukegan Roofing, and by KWCC Construction.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up a bit later in the show, find out how one Penn State chemical engineering professor blows off steam. But coming up at 7:07, we'll get the latest on all the palace intrigue inside the Beltway with Brett Baer. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
The Illinois Gaming Board approves Medina Temple as a temporary casino site. Child crimes in the Loop under investigation. Cubs sweep the Pirates after a convincing win. WIND Chicago News Time 7.
Some lost all. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. After a tornado ripped a small Texas city apart. That's what it sounded like in Perryton. Sabrina Devers tells Fox Weather.
We saw the tornado hitting, but had no idea the devastation. The town has been hit so hard.
At least 3 people were killed, dozens more injured. Another person died in Pensacola, Florida, when a tree fell on a house, and there's damage and about 500,000 power outages from Florida to Alabama, Louisiana to Texas, and Oklahoma, with more storms possible today. The U.S. is being hit by a cyber hack. The attacker, a group with ties to Russia.
A hacking cyber attack exploiting the popular MoveIt file sharing app is blamed for compromising computer networks at U.S. government agencies, among other outfits. Chief among the targets was the U.S. Department of Energy, specifically a New Mexico nuclear waste disposal site.
Fox's Eben Brown. There may be hundreds more victims, from companies to higher education, including the University of Georgia and Johns Hopkins University. The newest Republican in the 2024 presidential race, Francis Suarez, made his first campaign address last night at the Reagan Library in California, and Miami's mayor just told Fox,
I focus on prosperity, which for me, I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. I want to make sure that the world and that the country they inherit is one that they can be successful in.
Suarez did not support the frontrunner in the race, former President Trump, in 2016 or 20. But Suarez pushes back on critics who claim he voted for Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden.
I wrote in Marco Rubio in 2016, and I wrote in Mike Pence in 2020.
In his city of Miami, police are investigating a woman's claim that star UFC fighter Conor McGregor sexually assaulted her in the bathroom at a Game 4 of the NBA Finals a week ago.
McGregor denies any involvement. His attorneys saying the allegations are false, and Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated.
That's Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer. America's listening to Fox News.
55 degrees, 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. There's an investigation underway after a possible World War II rocket was located in unincorporated Antioch. Lake County Sheriff's deputies responded after a homeowner dug up the item. Residents in the immediate area were evacuated. Bomb squad removed the object and took it to an undisclosed location. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island is scheduled to appear in Chicago federal court to change her plea to guilty on charges Heather Mack helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. A temporary Chicago casino could open soon.
We are excited to be part of this historic moment to open the first casino in the city of Chicago.
Bali Casino's Sue Kim, the gaming board, approved that proposal that allows Bally's to continue preparations at the old Medina Temple in River North. Chicago police sergeant who was in charge of the botched raid on the home of Anjanette Young is out of a job. Chicago Police Board voting in favor of firing Alex Walensky for multiple rule violations and failure of leadership. Search is underway to try and find a man who went missing during a concert earlier this week on Chicago's north side. Police say Noah Enos was last seen at the Salt Shed venue on North Elston Avenue. Illinois school officials are now required to notify parents and guardians of any cases of bullying within a 24-hour period. Governor J.B. Pritzker has signed the measure into law despite major opposition from a number of school groups and principals who say the time period is not feasible. During debate, State Senator Seth Lewis said 24 hours is not enough time to investigate a bullying allegation.
I think it adds urgency to those who are leaving the profession if they are held liable for not diligently reporting within 24 hours of notification.
The legislation also requires that schools collect, maintain, and submit data regarding allegations and instances of bullying to the state. Cubs sweep out the Pirates with a convincing 7-2 win in the finale on the north side. White Sox couldn't hang on to a 4-0 early lead and a 5-4 11-inning loss to the Dodgers. Well, if you didn't watch the U.S. Open yesterday, you missed it. Pair of players made history in the opening round. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele tied atop the leaderboard at 8 under par after each became the first players in Open history to post a 62. The news, a service of Salem Surround. Go to surroundchicago.com today, and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day. Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
This is Jerry Boyer for townhall.com. There's probably no investment company more associated with ESG than BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager. Here's a refresher on ESG: environmental, social, and governance. It's a means by which firms which control the investment funds use those funds to take your money and use it to vote to impose a progressive political agenda on the companies you invest in. It's politics pretending to be finance. But people caught on to what was going on and have revolted against BlackRock's ESG agenda. They elected state financial and legal officers who pushed back against it, and in many cases have fired companies like BlackRock, which have been pushing ESG. I recently attended BlackRock's annual meeting. Larry Fink, the CEO, did not mention ESG once during his prepared remarks. These companies are beginning to feel the pressure. I don't believe they've actually changed, but the outflow of assets is being felt. Keep up the pressure.
7:07. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now. DanandAmy247.com. Lighter than normal on the inbound Kennedy. We are only at 43 right now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange, and throw in an accident right now at Armitage, and you still only have about 46 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike 35, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson outbound, bad accident, left lane block. You have a car in the grass and debris. Police on the scene outbound between Kenzie and Cicero. Right now, 26 outbound to the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Cloudy skies to start, then some sun. High today 71, clear tonight low 55. Sunny to partly cloudy for tomorrow. Some haze from those distant wildfires, high near 80. Partly sunny on Sunday, high Sunday at 84. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
55 at O'Hare, next news 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning, former ABC7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Yo.
One of the deans of Chicago journalism when Chicago journalism existed a long time ago. Yeah. So Ron DeSantis given a little press conference in Florida, and he was asked about recent comments that one California governor, Gavin Newsom, made. By the way, I'm. What do you think about this? I refer to him as Patrick Bateman.
Who Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, do you get the reference?
No.
Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, played by.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, that works a little bit. Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I mean he's got the look.
Well, yeah, he's slick back. You know, he
has a similar record to Patrick Bateman, I think.
What, killing stuff?
Anyway, California Governor Gavin Newsom made comments that he would agree to a hypothetical debate with DeSantis as moderated by not Christian Bale, but Sean Hannity. And Ron DeSantis responding to that prospect saying this.
You know, it's interesting. He's got huge problems in his state. I mean, like, huge problems in his state. We all know that. I mean, you see it in San Francisco, you see it in L.A., you see it in the people fleeing. California, from its inception, gained population every single year until he became governor. I mean, California was probably the height of opportunity for middle-class Americans for many, many decades in this country. No one would leave there. You know, you would go. People were drawn to there. And yet, he's the first governor that's overseen a massive exodus out of California. And, you know, you can kind of understand if somebody comes from Minnesota and moves to Naples, better winters, all this stuff. But if you're leaving, like, Southern California to move to like Jacksonville, which is a great place, you're not doing it because of the weather, because they probably have the best weather in the country. You're doing it because the place is so mismanaged and ill-governed that you just can't take it anymore. And yet with all those problems, he has a real serious fixation on the state of Florida. I mean, I think it's just bizarre that he does that. But what I would tell him is, you know what? Stop pussyfooting around. Are you going to throw your hat in the ring and challenge Joe? Are you going to get in and do it, or are you just going to sit on the sidelines and chirp? So why don't you throw your hat in the ring, and then we'll go ahead and talk about what's happening. So
it's interesting. You know, the Wall Street Journal editorial board is clamoring for a DeSantis-Newsom argument about the California versus Florida model of governance and which should be scaled nationally. I think the California model has been what's largely been scaled nationally to date, but that's why they want the debate. And frankly, in the interest of both DeSantis and Newsom, that debate would be at least a storyline that some people may pay attention to that is not Trump-related. Looking for a candidate to run for, is Newsom his huckleberry? Let's put that question to our friend Bret Baier, host of Fox News Special Report, best-selling author of To Rescue the Republic, Ulysses S. Grant, The Fragile Union, and The Crisis of 1876. Bret, thanks for joining us. What about this DeSantis-Newsom prospect, or even if it's Newsom is just a stalking horse, DeSantis trying to do something to talk about anything but Trump?
Yeah, good morning. I think that's true. I think it fits his campaign. Obviously, the Wall Street Journal would like the big issues to be focused on instead of the day-to-day about what's new with the indictment or the indictment to come or the pushback on the indictment. So, yes, I think that fits DeSantis' campaign. I think Newsom has long tried to make a statement about going to red states and saying how his ideology could win. And to DeSantis' point, I mean, if he is true about that, if he's real about that, he should throw his hat in the ring.
Yeah, right.
But he's not, at least yet.
With respect to DeSantis, we had Gingrich on the show, Newt Gingrich, you may have heard of him, on the show yesterday, and he said, look, barring a health issue, I just don't see how there is going to be any air between now and Iowa caucus, New Hampshire primary, South Carolina, so the early stages of the race for anybody else. All you've done is solidify the loyalty that people have and now feel duty bound to adhere to with respect to Trump with these indictments, and we still may have maybe one or two indictments to go. What do you think?
Yeah. So I do think, I mean, the former speaker is probably correct that the conventional wisdom is that, time will drag on here. These things are not going to come to a conclusion before the election in November of 24.
Right.
And I think people lose perspective of that. I mean, there'll be pretrial motions and all kinds of things. So we're kind of in limbo legally on resolution of all of this. So, yeah, I think the going bet is that that's going to happen on the GOP side, but there's a lot of time. And, there will be candidates who get some traction with, we like the policies of the Trump administration, but we don't like the chaos. I think that will sell, and whether it's in early states or somehow on a debate stage, there is time. On the Democratic side, it's the early stages, but the concern in some quarters of the Democratic circles is it's the early stages of something that is raising concern among the party.
Is there any more scuttlebutt on the other side? Is it ratcheting up at all about contingency plans for Biden?
Yeah, but the biggest hurdle is for the party is if you just say, okay, he's not going to run and he's going to pull Lyndon Johnson and say it's time for me to step aside. You can't then get over Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party. I mean, for a party that really values and talks about diversity, and that is a big part of its pitch, the first African-American vice president is not going to get just suddenly tossed aside. And her numbers are worse than Biden's.
Yeah, and I mean, it behooves all the candidates on the Republican side to stay in the race, at least until you get the debates going, which gives them some opportunity potentially to go toe-to-toe and try to crystallize the race as one of them being the alternative to Trump, maybe a couple of them. But if that doesn't happen, I mean, if we are in October, where we are today in June, in terms of the distribution of support, perhaps there's a move a la the move the Dems made against Bernie to get people out of the race and consolidate around a challenger?
I would guess. I didn't think there were going to be this many. I really didn't. I thought we were going to be shy of the 2016 numbers. But, I think we're at 12 now. I think that's capped. But, all those people have to make the stage in Milwaukee. The RNC's already set the guidelines for that. So we'll see how many do. I do think that, the party will probably want as few as possible heading into the spring, and that there will be probably one or two alternatives that head into those primaries.
I think, Brett, this is Charles Thomas, that certainly Joe Biden's age is in play here when it comes to what Gavin Newsom might be thinking as he moves forward with his rhetoric.
I agree, and I think it's a hedge here. He's there's no downside to saying I support President Biden, but he doesn't do Sean Hannity's show if there's not other ambitions. He doesn't go to the border and say Democrats need to pay attention to this issue if there aren't other things afoot. And I think everyone sees it. It's just a matter of the mechanics of right now. Everyone is circling wagons around Biden.
Yeah, they're like vultures. Around the guy because they know that this guy could basically leave the scene at any moment, either through health or worse.
Watch the activity around the French Laundry. Then you'll know Newsom might be moving into something. So should we file a missing persons report on Robert Hur? Has anybody seen him? Does he actually exist? Robert Hur. Jonathan Turley is asking this question, too. This guy's 6 months into the job, and they're still talking about how they're going to negotiate with Biden for an interview. Where are the questions about Robert Hur and what the hell he's doing with respect to his investigation of Biden's handling of classified information?
It's really, truly amazing. It seems like, it's cut and dry, or at least part of it is, and you've got to get your head around something. I would think that in the wake of these charges that we just saw this past week, that there's probably a little bit of pressure on him to come up with something or an explanation or something. But we have not heard. And we haven't also heard from the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, who has been working on the Hunter Biden investigation for 5.5 years.
I mean, is it just, when you or Fox reporters ask DOJ about these individuals or ask these individuals, they have, one's a U.S. attorney, so he's got an office. The other's a special counsel, so he's got some kind of setup. Do they just do you go to the office and there's nothing there, or do their phones are disconnected? How is it we can't track these people down?
No, they just don't return, calls. We're the only ones calling.
Yeah, well, there's
not a lot of other interest.
Right, yeah, well, that too. All right, well, but yeah, we're waiting with bated breath for somebody to track them down, corner them at a Starbucks or something. It's maybe the FBI should investigate whether or not they've gone missing. That gives them something to do. Brett Baer, host of Fox News Special Report, 5 p.m. weekdays, best-selling author of To Rescue the Republic. Thanks, Brett. We appreciate it.
You bet. I've got a big Trump interview on Monday.
Oh, yeah, we'll look forward to that. That's right. All right, very good. Brett Baer, join us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy on the AM 560 The Answer mobile app. Just text the word app to 64636 to download the app today.
Think back to a time when you were doing a physically demanding activity and you wanted to keep going, but you just didn't have the energy to. Having the right nutrition can make a huge difference between energy and long-lasting energy. That's why it's so important to nourish our bodies with the right kind of fuel, and there's no better way of doing that than with fruits and vegetables. You can get the benefits of 31 whole fruits and vegetables by taking a few capsules of Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies. Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It took a panicked run on a major bank to lead to the second biggest bank failure in U.S. history, and Moody's just downgraded the entire U.S. banking system from stable to negative. Just a reminder why many people diversify their portfolios with something tangible, something that doesn't need bailing out, something that can't vanish into thin air. Learn the truth in Swiss America's shocking report, The Secret War on Cash. This all-out war against cash is a war against the Constitution, against all freedom-loving Americans. You must read The Secret War on Cash. Get your free copy by calling or texting 800-630-1495. That's 800-630-1495. This all-out war on cash, digital forms of currency too, is growing daily. So please get and read The Secret War on Cash, free to Salem listeners by calling or texting now at 800-630-1495. Make sure you mention Salem when you call or text 800-630-1495.
I want to invite you to join me and my very good friend, former gubernatorial candidate Gary Rabine, along with presidential advisor and noted economist with dirty glasses Stephen Moore, for a very special dinner at Bull Valley Country Club in Woodstock on Wednesday, June 21st, celebrating the incredible work being done by Job Creators Network, including their efforts to have the Biden administration's vaccine mandate struck down by the Supreme Court, and much more. Job Creators Network has been working hard to stop the Biden administration's student loan bailout. Join Gary and me, along with Steve Moore, as we support the work of JCN. No other organization is fighting harder for freedom, small business, and the American dream than JCN. To reserve your seat or an entire table at the dinner Wednesday, June 21st, go to 560theanswer.com/JCN. That's 560theanswer.com/JCN, and learn more about Job Creators Network at jobcreatorsnetwork.com.
Hi, this is Steve. I'm in Italy, away from my business. But I'm not worried about the office or my absence from it. I'm confident because I've got Turnkey on my side. They've helped me solve several problems for my business, so I can finally relax for a bit while I let the business work. Not only did Turnkey help with my IT problems, their expert team gave me a custom consultation that found additional profit centers in my company. They've helped me focus on a new direction for my business. It's not easy to relax when you own a business, but with our partnership with Turnkey, I feel confident, resolved, and ready to deliver. Now, I'm going to relax, have a Peroni, and depend on the direction Turnkey has helped me embrace. They can help your business too. Visit turnkey.pro to start a conversation today. That's turnkey.pro.
The pros at Turnkey share your values. They know IT and they know small business. They're Chicagoland's small business champions. Visit turnkey.pro to book your appointment today. That's turnkey.pro.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Charles Thomas in for Amy J. And Charles, this is a disturbing story about America falling behind on yet another important metric. It's not math or reading proficiency. Again, this is a science story. World Data brings us an important study. They looked at data from nearly 90 nations to uncover which country's men have the largest average erect penis size.
Okay, and who won?
Well, before we get to who's leading, I think we should talk about America, because we're not.
Oh, we're not?
No, we're not. No, we're not even close. In fact, we're even behind Canada.
We're behind Canada?
Canada, are you kidding? I mean, Canada, they elected that eunuch.
I know.
That grade school drama teacher. Yeah. Canada, 13th place, 6.19 inches, in case you're scoring at home. You want to memorialize this. The American male, the average, 5.35.
Well, we're way behind Canada.
Yeah. Canada's it's stiff competition. I don't know, but I'm sort of assuming that
this is erect penis size.
Yes, thank you for clarifying. Yeah, exactly right. And so you got to figure like who is dragging us down in America. And I presume it's the Irish. But I don't know.
Man,
that
I'm not
for
going
certain.
there, man.
I don't know that for certain, but I think that's probably our problem. I mean, the Irish have been a problem in Chicago in so many respects.
I think a lot of it has to do with, look at the NBA these days. I mean, how we have the foreign players coming in, and the most valuable player. The guy that Jokic?
Yeah,
who just won the
Nuggets.
Deal. I mean,
right.
In other words, America's a different place than it was just 25 years ago, 30 years ago.
Well, that's true.
Place.
I've long said fewer Irish, more Ecuadorians in this country. That's long been my position.
That's long been your position?
It has. Ecuador. Ecuadorian men topping the charts.
Really?
With the world's largest average erect penis at 6.93 inches.
That's 6.9 inches.
You know what the
you know what I'm doing here.
You know what the national motto of Ecuador is, don't you?
Is that the football? Excuse me while I whip this out.
Yeah.
Whoa, man! That's a big one, boy. 6.9 inches. That's almost 2 inches. That's short. That's 4 inches short of 2 inches longer than the average American.
Wow. Let me see if I can. No other topic on the website has been asked for more often than the average size of male genitalia, according to the author of the study.
I got to ask, and I think a lot of our listeners want to know. How did they do the study? Who did the study, and how did they do it?
That's a great question. The World Data team trawled through studies stretching back to 2001 to produce their comprehensive list. I don't have details more specific than that. By the way, the good news is that our main competitor for global hegemony, the Chinese, I mean, we do have them bested. We're 5.35. They're 5.15.
It's close, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's close.
Yeah, another reason perhaps why the University of Illinois should reduce its population of Chinese nationals in favor of Illinois residents.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud here, trying to close the gap. Bill and Glen Ellen, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, I was wondering, did they throw Lori Lightfoot into that study? Didn't she say she had the biggest one in Chicago?
Yeah, but the problem is, Bill, it's not that big. Thanks for the call. It doesn't have to be that big to be the biggest in Chicago.
But she's got one. She's got a big one in her mind.
Yeah. Even the Italians, I mean, Italy's at 6.04. They're 19th place. We're 60th place. We're barely ahead of the United Kingdom.
Really?
Yeah, barely ahead of the Brits. Barely ahead of the Chinese. Yeah. But as I'm just telling you, you thought that was some sort of ethnic slur when I went after the Irish. Well, where's Ireland stand, you ask? Great question. 71st place, 5.03 inches, a full 0.3 of an inch shorter than America overall. They're dragging us down, the Irish.
Well, who? I'm curious. Who's number 2 on the list?
Cameroon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bolivia, Sudan, Haiti, Senegal, Gambia, Cuba, the Netherlands, Zambia, France, Angola, Canada, Egypt, Zimbabwe.
And somebody actually went around with a tape measure.
I don't know if they went around with a tape measure.
How'd they do it? I mean,
I don't know. It's a great question.
You got to get it. You got to get. You got not only do you got to get the measurement, but you got to get the situation such that you can get an accurate measurement.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? You run around with a little Pornhub on your phone, and you say, hey, check this out.
Now the question is, does this reflect? I mean, I could talk about this topic all morning. It's because it's science. Does this reflect a changing in eating habits that are unhealthy? For example, you would think, well, we have a better diet than some of these developing countries. And scientists reveal the average penis size has grown over the past 30 years. I thought you would know. But it could be due to unhealthy habits such as binging on junk food, being mostly sedentary. So the question is, would you want to have a diet like a national of Ecuador or Cameroon in exchange for another inch and a half? I mean, they're trade-offs in life, is what I'm saying.
Well, of course, and I think you have to know what's on the menu. You have to, know what do they eat? What would you imagine they eat in Ecuador?
I've been to Ecuador. I don't know. A lot of,
what?
Rice dishes.
Really?
Yeah, and stuff.
Veggies.
I don't know. I tell you what. I'm going to see about if there are Ecuadorian restaurants in Chicagoland that I can start patronizing. You know what I mean? I could use it.
I know of a sushi chef.
Who
makes a sushi doku. That is it. Maybe I shouldn't say that on the air, but man, he makes this. He's an Ecuadorian, and he makes this Ecuadorian. What is it? Nigiri roll or whatever it is where you have the pieces. Oh man,
hey, I don't.
it is one of the
honestly,
best things you could ever.
Honestly,
taste,
I don't care what it is.
Huh?
I don't care what it is. I'll show me the place. I'll go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a Green and Randolph. Man. Good sushi place.
All right, we'll pick this up. You'll get more reactions. Probably an open mic Friday because there's a lot to discuss there. Bill Cassidy, U.S. Senator from Louisiana, probably won't tackle the topic with him, so we'll move on to some other matters at 7:37. Now we check the headlines from next.
Well, Bologna de Verde is the national dish of Ecuador, along with ceviche, just in case you want to know.
Very good.
There you go.
Oh. Somebody's been monitoring the Ecuadorians very closely.
There you go. Watching carefully all sectors of the world. 54 degrees at 7:34. We are watching an investigation that is developing in Canada where a bus carrying seniors to a casino collided with a semi. It's at a highway intersection in a rural part of Manitoba, killing 15. Government agencies say they're working urgently on damage assessment after several U.S. agencies were hit by a global cyber attack. Texas Governor Greg Abbott deploying state emergency resources following a tornado that devastated the town of Perryton in the Texas Panhandle, about 100 miles north of Amarillo. We're watching the Supreme Court again today as they could rule on two major cases as they head into the final stretch of their current season. Court heard arguments in February over two cases challenging President Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 in student loan debt. We're also watching in Germany where one American tourist was killed, another badly hurt. They were attacked near a famous castle in southern Germany. Police have arrested a 30-year-old American man who say they lured the 21 and 22-year-old women onto a trail overlooking the castle, the inspiration for Disney's Sleeping Beauty. An investigation continues after a possible World War II rocket was located in unincorporated Antioch, dug up and then removed by the bomb squad. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island is scheduled to appear in a Chicago federal courtroom, likely changing her plea to guilty on charges Heather Mack helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. And we want to extend our congratulations to a 14-year-old archer from Kenosha, Wisconsin, who's pulled off a rare feat. It's called the Robin Hood. By a king, split an arrow already embedded in a practice target during a lesson at the Root River Archery Range in Racine yesterday. There are pictures of the feat. The odds are 0.025% of pulling off the Robin Hood, or mathematically 1 out of every 4,000 shots. Cubs swept out the Pirates with a 7-2 win, while the White Sox couldn't hold a 4-0 lead and fall at Chavez Ravine to the Dodgers 5-4 in 11. Men's College World Series tips off in Omaha today. Oral Roberts against the Horned Frogs of TCU. And a pair of players made history during the opening round of the U.S. Open at the LA Country Club. Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele are tied on top of the leaderboard after posting a history-making 62. The news, a service of MyPillow. Big news, brand new MyPillow 2.0 is buy one, get one free with promo code Liberty. Visit MyPillow.com and use that promo code Liberty. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
The Sean Thompson Show.
The feeble fascist and the entire upper echelon of the Democrat Party is a big, giant, pay-to-play scheme mafia. They get to lie with impunity, and they lie knowingly. And what does the lie lead to? The fact that the sitting president, although he doesn't know it and he's sitting in his own urine, the sitting president is an asset of enemies, foreign. We know. And we also know about the domestic, but we're used to unions.
The Sean Thompson Show, weekday afternoons at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I mean, I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, it's just given me the energy every day to continue to do the exercises, and I just appreciate the doctor for what he's done. I'm impressed. I'm just become a new man with energy. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
It's summertime, and you want to keep the shop, warehouse, and other doors open for ventilation. Air circulation improves the well-being of your employees and customers, but open doors can let in the uninvited, like strangers, birds, rodents, and bugs. Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. can help solve the problem with a full line of commercial screen door products designed with these specific problems in mind. Call Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. now. Also, regular scheduled maintenance is the key, and Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. has multiple levels of maintenance programs for your company's needs and budget. They'll ensure your doors, grills, gates, and dock equipment are working to specification to increase the useful life of your doors. Visit their website to see a range of products and services at industrialdoor.com. Call anytime, 847-258-5620. Their team will be there to assist in designing a solution that works best for you. Since 1982, the Industrial Door Company of Chicago, Inc. takes care of your doors so you can take care of business.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
7:40. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Inbound Kennedy at an hour 7 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. And most of that big delay is because of an earlier accident inbound between Montrose and Armitage. Kennedy outbound, 36 back out to the big airport. Inbound Ike slows up between Manheim and Oak Park Avenue. It's 38 into the old post office. Stevenson outbound accident, left lane blocked between Kedzie and Cicero. It's 47 outbound on the Stevenson from DuSable Lakeshore Drive to I-355. Tri-State stop and go northbound Plainfield up to Ogden. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds will give way to some sunshine. Still a bit nippy in the afternoon, a high of 70. Clear and a low of 55. Back to summer-like, 80 tomorrow. 55 at O'Hare. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter.
Yep, that's me.
That's you. And Ron Johnson, senator from Wisconsin, they're north of the Cheddar Curtain, talking about the week that was. The Senate Judiciary hearing with Deputy Director of the FBI, Paul Abate, was something to behold. And a lot was asked of him with respect to these alleged tapes of conversations between ostensibly the CEO of Burisma, Ukrainian oligarch, and the Bidens, meaning Joe and Hunter. But Ron Johnson says, we don't know about the existence of these tapes, and certainly Paul Abate didn't provide any clarity. Although it was bizarre because he seemed to say at one point during his non-answers that he didn't know if the tapes existed, and then he seemed to indicate that the tapes did existed by the nature of saying, I'll go back and talk to my team about whether or not we can disclose this and that. Anyway, Ron Johnson says the main thing, and make the main thing the main thing. That's FedEx CEO Fred Smith's advice, right? Always make the main thing the main thing. That's how to succeed in business. The main thing is not the tapes, but corruption at the FBI.
But again, what I'm telling you, what we know is the corruption of the FBI and federal law enforcement. So I don't want people to gain, we already know the Bidens are corrupt. The main issue here, from my standpoint, is the corruption of the FBI. And what did they do to follow up on that as they were interfering in Senator Grassley's and my investigation, the Hunter? If we would have known these things, we could have raised this issue in 2020. Joe Biden never would have been elected president. But our investigation was interfered with by the mainstream media, by our Democrat ranking members, by the FBI.
For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Senator Bill Cassidy, U.S. Senator from Louisiana. He is in Chicago getting an award. We'll have to hear more about that as well. Senator Cassidy, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Good morning.
So, do you agree with Ron Johnson's focus as well as his characterization of the FBI's corruption?
Clearly, within the FBI, there were elements that had a political agenda. Clearly. We don't know how much it permeates the FBI, but it's damaged their reputation. And it's damaged their reputation enough that people can assume the worst and they can find enough to justify it. Now, I grew up, my gosh, these were the like epitome of law enforcement. And I can tell you, speaking to individual FBI agents, the ones I speak to are still the epitome of professionalism. But the agency has opened itself up to criticism by some of its past actions.
Well, okay, and then so what are House and Senate Republicans to do about these things? Because of course that one of the frustrations that fuels the suspicion is that nobody gets held accountable, even when there is documented, incontrovertible bad acts. And then you have the new crop of folks that replace the Comeys and the McCabe's and the Strocks, and they're behaving more or less the same way, it would seem, to an outsider like me.
So the House Republicans, obviously, if Democrats are in control of a chamber, they're not going to allow a full-fledged investigation with subpoenas, et cetera. They're just not, because it embarrasses their guy, and Biden is their guy. On the other hand, House Republicans have the majority, and they have initiated these investigations, and it's slow, it's a slog, but they are actually getting results. So I think you're going to see, if there are things to be revealed, you'll see those revelations over the next year and a half.
And I know you're limited on the Senate side versus what the House can do, as you just described, but from what you've seen from the Weaponization of Government Committee, from Jim Comer's House Oversight Committee, you're encouraged. You think people should be guardedly optimistic that the work of those committees will go somewhere in the direction of accountability?
Yeah, I do. Comer, obviously, and the ranking Democrat went in and looked at some FBI documents. The FBI didn't want to be more forthcoming. They've kind of leveraged that into the FBI being more forthcoming. Now it's going to be pulling out dragon's eye teeth to get some of this information, but it does seem like the House Republicans are going to be able to do it, and it won't be quick. It's going to be like the Ukrainian offensive in eastern Ukraine. But it's going to be effective, and it's going to come through.
Now
That's my cautious optimism.
Okay. Now you're both in the House and you're involved in the Senate on proposing sort of a new deal when it comes to student loan debt, as we wait for the Supreme Court to opine on the Biden gambit, and the Democrats pursue, taxpayer-funded college without qualification. So explain what I mean. I know in the House the legislation would provide some paths for relief for what they say are students who paid more than the principal and interest they originally incurred. But well, if they paid more than the principal and the interest they originally incurred, then they would have paid off the debt. I don't really understand that. And compare and contrast what you and your colleagues are doing in the Senate to what you're seeing in the House.
Well, a couple of things. Right now, by the way, I was born in Highland Park. I feel like I'm back in the old country, although we moved when I was less than a year. And I'm looking out over an incredible skyline of Chicago from my hotel room. Now, the way the Biden administration has set it up, they say they're forgiving student loan debt. They're not forgiving it. They're transferring it to everybody that lives and works in those buildings that I'm looking at right now. Look at yourself. You pay back your student loans. Maybe you never took them. Maybe you kind of sacrificed.
I did. Yeah. I did.
Yeah, and all they're doing is transferring it. So, and they don't correct the underlying problem. The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget says in 5 years we'll be back in the same situation. 5 years. So what we do in ours, we first recognize there's already student loan debt forgiveness programs for those who lose their job, become disabled, income falls too low, go into certain professions. We already have those programs. But what we're trying to do is correct the underlying problem, in which a kid could log on, a family could log on and say, if my child enrolls in this curriculum at this school, this is the likelihood that she will graduate in this curriculum at this school, how much she has to borrow and how much she will earn. So she has to borrow $250,000, but she's going to make $45,000 a year. Then she'll know that's a bad bargain. I shouldn't go there. I should do something else. And so we're just trying to give, and we have other tools like that where the person would know just exactly how much they're going to borrow, how long they'll have to pay it back, and how much they will pay back. We're trying to address the underlying problems.
Well, the underlying problem, it seems to me, is that the government is the dominant player in the student loan business. Why? I mean, you're subsidizing higher tuition, so why don't we stop doing that?
Yeah, well, that would be a great idea. You got to have politics is the art of the possible. We should really have even a more aggressive revamp of how we do it. But we got to start off with what we can get. And what we can get is having a transparency so that a university, which is offering a student, an offer sheet, that it's actually accurate, that they can look at it, compare it to other universities and see which is best. Right now, they can't do that. One of our pieces of legislation would do that. Now, long term, you're right. There's a lot of stuff that we could correct. Man, you got to take a step at a time.
I understand. Since you're a medical doctor, I wanted to address one COVID issue, and that's a story that's not getting really a lot of play. This story from the Sunday Times over there across the pond in merry old England, that through FOIA and interviews with U.S. investigators, they laid out a case last weekend that we have known, we have believed, and the professionals in the space essentially can say they have known for a long time that the COVID virus originated in the Wuhan virology lab. And the Sunday Times puts together all of the requisite pieces to draw a rational conclusion that that was where the virus emanated. That was from where the virus emanated. And yet still, speaking again here of the lack of accountability, still we have Fauci and Collins and Walensky and the public health establishment trying to middle the issue. You have a D.C. press corps that largely ignores it. You have people, some of these COVIDians, calling for COVID amnesty. Let's just move on and forget everything that happened for the past 3 years. What should Republicans be doing to amplify some of what we know to be true in the wake of the last 3 years, and in the direction of a reckoning for those who purposely, clearly misled the American people in so many respects?
And the reports I read, they did have the word "could" in there. Could have originated, concluded that they could have originated. And I think that's a distinction but on the other hand, the fact that they also are reporting that the People's Liberation Army was the one who's most likely directing the research is, of course, incredibly important.
Right.
So there's going to be opportunities. I'm the lead Republican on the health, education, labor, and pension. There is going to be the new nominee for the NIH. She will come before us. And there will be Republicans who are pressing her and making their vote for her contingent on openness about what the NIH funded via maybe third parties on gain-of-function research. Now, that will be on the Senate side. On the House side, I know they're doing things. Transparency. We just got to get more information out there, let people draw their own conclusions. But there'll be a lot of oversight, a lot of interest. So have me back in 6 months, and we'll talk about it some more.
Well, and the new the nominee that's going to replace Walensky for CDC director, I mean, she has made some pronouncements. She did during the thrust of the pandemic that, are really telling, and perhaps she should be queried about as well. She basically saying, she would call other people similarly situated as public health professionals in their states. When are you going to lift the mask mandate? Or when are you going to impose it? Okay, well, I'll do it. If you're going to do it Monday, then I'll do it Monday. That doesn't sound like professionals following the science and data to me. It sounds like groupthink and political sequencing.
There was a lot of groupthink during that process. And by the way, I'll also fault the executive branches. The executive branches are the ones with the responsibility of weighing the negative effect upon the children from their isolation, the fact that they were going to be away from school and lose learning opportunity, and you knew that would fall upon the most vulnerable. That is absolutely the case. My wife is the head of a public charter school for children with dyslexia. Dyslexics really suffered during that period, speaking to the children with dyslexia and other needs. And we can go down the list. Inner city kids did the worst, on and on. So we knew that was going to happen. We knew that there would be social ills that would result. People were predictably going to drink more alcohol because they were sitting by themselves all the time. So the politicians really should have balanced that. There was groupthink among the public health people. I'll also say there was too much deference given to them by others.
All right. He is Senator Bill Cassidy, U.S. Senator, Republican from Louisiana. Enjoy your time back home, so to speak, Dr. Cassidy, Senator Cassidy. Thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And he joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Dan Migatz, co-owner and CFO of AM Woodland Outdoor Design in Mundelein, and a new customer of Signature Bank. We specialize in the creative design and construction of outdoor living spaces, providing our residential and commercial customers first-in-class landscaping services. Our company was founded as a one-man operation, and today has grown into a multifaceted, one-stop shop for outdoor and indoor design and contracting needs. Signature Bank was there to provide the capital needed to grow our expansion efforts. We wanted to work with a bank that understands our business and is relationship focused. Signature Bank is what a relationship bank is all about. We're excited to continue our partnership for many years to come.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Everyone knows that crime is on the rise. It's imperative that law enforcement agents have the information they need to keep citizens safe and protect themselves as well. If you are a sworn law enforcement agent certified in the state of Illinois and working for an agency in Illinois, you might be interested in this announcement. Would you like to have an on-the-job decision-making tool at your fingertips? Law enforcement agency data systems information is available to you at an affordable price when you use the Illinois Public Safety Agency Network products, Bullet or Mini Bullet. Your Android or Apple-based handheld mobile device, phone or tablet can receive this data. In addition, your desktop or laptop can also receive this information via the internet. Just call the Illinois Public Safety Agency Network at 773-693-3000 or visit ipsan.org. and pilot Bullet or Mini Bullet. That's 773-693-3000 or visit ipsan.org.
It's a big deal because your finances are a really big deal. Wintrust Community Banks would like to announce our newest and greatest 11-month CD rate with a whopping 5.35% APY. Act now and you can lock in 5.35%. Just go to wintrust.com/locknewrates and start earning more. Annual percentage yield accurate as of May 5th, 2023 and assumes funds remain on deposit until maturity. Minimum daily balance of 1 cent required to obtain APY. $1,000 minimum to open. New money only. Offer may change at any time and without notice. Member FDIC.
Raj Shah, host of Unleash Your Wealth.
You know, there are a lot of clients and people coming in from the radio into our office and saying, I don't want to lose any money. I need to protect the money I have saved over the last 20 or 30 years, where you have strategies where you can structure an income stream where it has an inflation protection so that as inflation, if it continues to go up, your income will go up.
Unleash Your Wealth, Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
Feel like you're trying to push a boulder uphill wearing skates? If you run or manage a local business today, you're challenged like never before. We get it, and we want to help. We're Salem Surround. We're a full-service marketing agency that'll help you increase your customer base by designing incredibly effective plans to reach your consumers day, night, and everywhere they might be.
If you're a local business and want to see what Salem Surround can do for you, visit surroundchicago.com. Remember to visit surroundchicago.com today.
Structural foundation problems? Permaseal can help. Hi, I'm Roy Spencer, president of Permaseal. Last year's severe drought has homeowners across Chicagoland and Northwest Indiana experiencing symptoms of structural foundation issues. Cracked brickwork or caulking, uneven floors, new cracks in the drywall or ceiling, doors or windows that no longer open or shut properly, or basement walls that are leaning or bowing. All of these can be signs of a structural foundation issue. Too often we hear of homeowners paying for an expensive consultation just to determine the problem. Don't be one of them. Call Permaseal today at 800-421-SEAL. Our certified structural consultants will thoroughly evaluate your foundation and offer you a permanent solution at absolutely no charge. Life's frustrating enough. Let's fix what we can and avoid even bigger problems. Call Permaseal today, 800-421-7325, or visit permaseal.net.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:08, Joe Biden, wannabe dictator. Tucker Carlson tackles the Chiron in question. Now we check the headlines with Mike Scott.
A possible World War II rocket found in an Antioch backyard. White Sox blow a big lead against the Dodgers. WIND Chicago News Time, 8 o'clock.
Yet another cyber attack. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It's hit the Department of Energy and other U.S. government agencies, and there could be hundreds of other victims, from private companies to higher education institutions.
The same attack infested the University of Georgia, Johns Hopkins University and its hospital system, as well as British energy conglomerate Shell. A known cybercrime and extortion ring with ties to Russia is claiming responsibility, but says it would not exploit data stolen from government agencies.
Fox's Eben Brown. A jury in Pittsburgh will soon resume deliberating a second day in the case against Robert Bowers, who prosecutors say was motivated by the hatred of Jews in a 2018 synagogue shooting spree that left 11 people dead.
Bowers' defense called no witnesses and never denied in 11 days of testimony that Bowers was the man behind the attack. If the jury's decision is guilty, the same 12 people will then decide if Bowers gets a life sentence or the death penalty.
Fox's Gernal Scott. There is storm damage in parts of the South, about 500,000 power outages, most of them in Louisiana and Texas, where one small city got a direct tornado hit.
The devastation was unbelievable.
Sabrina Devers lives in Perryton, just south of Oklahoma, and tells Fox Weather.
The tornado, it stayed on the ground for a long time, for several minutes, and it just seemed like it was getting... the top, it was getting bigger.
At least 3 people are dead, dozens more injured. Another person died in Pensacola, Florida, when a tree fell on a house. There's also flooding there and more severe storms possible today. A disaster in Canada.
A bus carrying mostly senior citizens was heading to a casino when it collided with a semi-trailer truck at a highway intersection in a rural part of Canada's Manitoba province, leaving 15 people dead, 10 injured, and the bus engulfed in flames.
Fox's Lillian Wu. In Germany, an American man's charged in an attack on 2 U.S. tourists on a hiking trail near a castle, pushing both down a steep slope. One died. America's listening to Fox.
55 degrees. It is 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. There's an investigation underway after a possible World War II rocket was located in unincorporated Antioch, dug up by a homeowner in their backyard. It's unknown how long the object was buried. Residents were temporarily evacuated while the bomb squad removed the object. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside of a suitcase at an Indonesian resort island is scheduled to appear in a Chicago federal courtroom, changing her plea to guilty on charges that Heather Mack helped kill her mother in Bali 9 years ago. Mack was convicted in Indonesia in 2015 and served 7 of her 10-year Indonesian sentence there. A temporary Chicago casino could open soon.
It is important for everyone to understand that preliminary suitability is just that. It is preliminary.
Members of the Illinois Gaming Board approving a proposal that allows Bally's to continue preparing the old Medina Temple in River North for gaming. 2 Chicago police officers are being suspended for shooting an armed man to death in 2018. Chicago Police Board voted to suspend the officers. They were accused of using unnecessary force for firing at Terrell Eason. Eason was running away holding a gun in his right hand at the time of the incident. Man accused of killing Libby German and Abby Williams in Delphi, Indiana in 2017 has allegedly confessed to the crimes. At a hearing Thursday, both the prosecutor and the defense mentioned incriminating statements made by Richard Allen. Cubs swept out the Pirates with a 7-2 win, while the White Sox lost to the Dodgers 5-4 in 11 innings. 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Micron Technology, based in Idaho, is making a commitment to manufacturing in China. Micron is investing more than $600 million in a new facility in its China factory. However, Intel is planning a new semiconductor factory and testing facility in Poland. It will invest up to $4.6 billion there. Amazon has cleared an important hurdle in its effort to buy iRobot, the robotic vacuum company. Regulators in the United Kingdom have cleared the merger. Shoppers are known for going to Walmart to find lower prices, but Walmart also wants to be the place you shop for stylish home furnishings and clothing. Reuters says Walmart is adding more than a dozen new lines of products. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka is on Team Trump.
If you support anyone except President Trump, it means that you're fine with political persecution based upon the fact that he's got an R after his name. I don't want to live in that America, and I would hope you don't too.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
So what's the trouble here, mister?
I don't understand what happened. I checked my stuff in Chicago, and when we landed in L.A., I came to baggage claim, and there it was, my $10,000 Canoma analyzer in pieces, completely trashed.
Just the facts, buddy. What did you have it packed in?
Well, just the box it came in, but there was all this foam and thick cardboard. It looked sturdy enough.
That's what they all think, pal, till it's too late.
What am I gonna do now? My boss is gonna kill me.
Here's some good advice for you. The next time you transport anything valuable, put it in a Star case, leading manufacturer of customer-usable shipping cases.
So where do I get a Star case?
Now you're getting smart, bub. You can find everything you need to know to order one direct at starcase.com or call 800-822-STAR, where a friendly, knowledgeable sales engineer will be glad to help you design the custom case you need. That's starcase.com or 800-822-7827.
Attention to all homeowners, contractors, and realtors. It's Sean Thompson. Do you have unwanted items cluttering your space? Whether it's old furniture, boxes, and appliances, or yard waste and renovation debris. There's no job too big or too small for Junk Jaws. They charge a flat fee for space your junk takes up on their truck. You pay for the space, and they supply the labor, removal, and disposal. They will even disassemble large items to make it easier for hauling. Junk Jaws is family-owned and operated by the children of parents I know, so you won't be paying for those high franchise fees. I only know entrepreneurs. What really makes Junk Jaws different from the competition is that they will donate lightly used small appliances, clothing, and furniture to local donation centers. Junk Jaws is reasonable, speedy, and professional. Look at the reviews. Junk Jaws has over 100 five-star reviews and counting. Declutter your space today. You can book directly online at junkjaws.com or over the phone at 833-586-5529. They even offer same-day estimates and pickups. Junk Jaws.
Don't let earache from swimmer's ear, clogged ears, or allergies ruin your day. Get fast, effective relief from the pain and itching with Hyland's Earache Drops, the #1 best-selling earache treatment for over 10 years. See why it's received thousands of 5-star reviews and was awarded Best Over-the-Counter Medicine and Health Product in Earache Relief by U.S. News and World Report. Find Hyland's Earache Drops in the eye and ear aisle at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Claims based on traditional homeopathic practice, not accepted medical evidence, not FDA evaluated.
Progressive presents 10 things on a food truck owner's to-do list that are harder than getting a commercial auto insurance quote. Stocking the fridge, prepping the stations, finding employees that get along well, finding employees that actually do their job. Looking at you, Gary. Balancing the books, balancing the flavors, having a fresh menu and fresh produce and fresh meat, but never a fresh mouth. But the easiest thing on a small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you can save on commercial auto insurance. Get a quote in as little as 6 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Coverage subject to policy terms and conditions.
It's 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Starcase. When you need to protect your valuable equipment, put it in a Starcase. Go to starcase.com. Order your case now. Kennedy inbound, 54 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Ike in, 35, 390 to the old post office. Outbound Stevenson still heavy and slow Kedzie to Cicero due to a much earlier accident. Dan Ryan stop-and-go traffic in the locals between Garfield and 47th. 2 right lanes are blocked due to an accident right at the exit ramp. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
High waves and dangerous currents along Lake Michigan this afternoon. Hazy sun today, high 81. Clear tonight, low 53. Mostly sunny for tomorrow, high 73. Sunny to partly cloudy, nice day on Saturday, the high at 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Worried about basement flooding? Time to call Permaseal, 800-421-SCAL. 55 at O'Hare, next news 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Ian for Amy J. This morning, former ABC 7 political reporter Charles Thomas.
Hey there.
And Charles, the Chiron that had the D.C. press corps wetting themselves. Fox News Chiron featuring a split screen of Biden and Trump. Wannabe dictator speaks at the White House after having his political rival arrested. This sent the press corps and the Democrat Party, I repeat myself, into apoplexy. How dare they? Joe Biden is not a wannabe dictator. He doesn't have the capacity to be a dictator. You know, the mental capacity. Maybe that's the most convincing argument. This is the Chiron that shook Washington. The topic of Tucker Carlson's latest installment on his Twitter program, which, again, if you haven't seen them, we've talked about, I think, the first three, now the fourth. Basically like his 10 to 12-minute monologue from his previous show on Fox. Really interesting. He takes this up, and by the way, the guilty party who wrote the Chiron is a former Tucker Carlson producer who was then ash-canned after this. Tucker Carlson on the Chiron.
On Tuesday afternoon, the Biden administration had Donald Trump arrested. It was a pretty big news story. You may have seen it. Just before 9 p.m. that night, as part of its coverage, Fox News ran two live video feeds next to one another. On the right, Donald Trump addressed his supporters in New Jersey. On the left, Joe Biden spoke at an event for the Secretary General of NATO in Washington. Beneath those videos at the bottom of the screen, Fox's banner read this way, quote, "Wannabe dictator speaks at the White House after having his political rival arrested." Those words were up for less than 30 seconds, but the effect was immediate. Inside Fox, the women who run the network panicked. First, they scolded the producer who put the banner on the screen. Less than 24 hours after that, he resigned. He'd been at Fox for more than a decade. He was considered one of the most capable people in the building. He offered to stay for the customary 2 weeks, but Fox told him to clear out his desk and leave immediately. Then the company issued a public apology for the 27-second-long wannabe dictator line. Quote, "The Chiron was taken down immediately," Fox's PR department said, and then added ominously it was, quote, "addressed."
The women who run the network. That's more than a veiled shot. Should Fox have apologized?
Yeah. I think this is a case of like using old school values in this new school world. I mean, if you go to MSNBC's website, you'll see all of these provocative headlines that are done very, they've adopted a new
very
style.
Neutral,
yeah,
right?
Well,
very neutral.
Yeah, right. Very neutral, and everything is very negative about Trump and the right, but it's done in a way that's new school. You can do it now as long as you fit the narrative, as long as your headline fits the narrative, fine. But in the old school, what this producer did at Fox was absolutely, you can't do that. Yeah, but he's basically going to be fired because of the old school values.
Yeah, but is that the way that Fox News should play the game? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line.
You got to decide who you want to be.
Yeah, right.
You got to decide who you're going to be. If you're going to play this game, this hardball game, play it. I mean, it's like, sometimes I see people on the right not willing to play hardball the way it's played against them. I mean, you take the debt ceiling. I don't want to digress here too much, but the debt ceiling debate. I mean, had the Republicans held firm, they know Joe Biden would look like a new age version of Herbert Hoover. They would have destroyed him politically if this country had gone into the default. But they didn't do it because they realized that the country would fail. But then no more than a week later, basically they play hardball.
Yeah, well, and by the way, just in terms of your business model, you may want to look at the ratings numbers because it seems like they've lost a lot of viewers in the case of Fox.
Oh, for sure.
That want something other than apologies over chyrons. They lost a third of their viewers in May, and for the first time in 5 years, MSNBC had the largest audience primetime, as well as 2554, that coveted demographic for corporate advertisers. Although I got to tell you, here's something else too that you really need to understand if you don't, how small the audiences really are. I mean,
at all of them.
25 to 54 prime time. MSNBC at 172,000. Fox at 139,000. CNN or CNN LOL, as John Nolte calls it over at Breitbart. No, these is 2554.
2554.
Yeah. But to 172,000, 139,000, 131,000. So it's all driven by older people. That's number one, right? I mean, the viewership. So Fox had 1.5 million viewers in their primetime audience, 139,000, 2554.
No, it's pathetic. I mean,
what does that say? I mean, not to digress in this, but what does that say about the future of these cable news stations with the content they're currently producing?
They're toast.
Yeah,
and
that's
right
what it
now
says.
they're faking it. They're faking it to their advertisers, telling them they're a lot more than they really are. I'm getting most of my information now off my phone. I'm going to YouTube. I'm going to sources that I trust, and I'm going to those. I don't watch Fox News. After Tucker Carlson left, there's nothing there to see. There's nothing different, really. I mean, there's nothing that goes beyond. So you go to your trusted sources, and you have your YouTube roster, those people to whom you subscribe, and you watch those people to get your news.
Well, and here's the value of Tucker is he thinks about the premise from which people are starting, and then he challenges the premise, as I'm always urging people to do. He doesn't do it all the time, but when he does, he's very good. And he was very good last night in this new installment because he's saying, well, okay, so this Chiron, why the overheated reaction? What's the big deal? He said, if the Chiron said Joe Biden is secretly a Sudanese American or something, nobody would care because it's an obvious untruth. So why so worked up over this Chiron?
Because of everything Tucker's been doing, particularly during his last 18 months, 2 years on the air, he challenged the status quo. The swamp, as they call it.
Well, I know what he did.
Yeah.
I know what he did. But he goes. But his question is why?
Well, yeah.
Why are you reacting to this character? Why are you reacting to this characterization of Biden?
Because it's what people are thinking. It's real. It's absolutely real.
Right.
You mean to tell me you're gonna indict, your Justice Department is going to indict your principal opponent? That's some wannabe dictator stuff.
Well, this is exactly where Tucker takes it in a way that nobody else is.
Of course Joe Biden's not a wannabe dictator. Just because he's trying to put the other candidate in prison for the rest of his life for a crime he himself committed doesn't mean he has a totalitarian impulse. Come on, that's absurd. It takes a lot more than jailing your political rivals to earn the title wannabe dictator. That's the consensus in Washington tonight.
Yeah, well, so what are the other features of dictators? Money, how you deal with protests to your regime.
You tell the truth.
It is not a small thing to be a wannabe dictator. It's quite a process. There are a lot of steps. First off, there is the money. The one thing that all dictators have in common is they enrich themselves and their families, their tribe, even as the countries they govern grow steadily poorer and more desperate. They take kickbacks from businesses and from other dictators. They use the official functions of their government to funnel cash to themselves. They don't bother to hide the fruits of this. They live in garish mansions with big lawns, far from the teeming cities, even as their own citizens languish in growing poverty, in some cases literally living in tents on the street. So they don't really hide it, it's all pretty blatant, and ordinary people resent it. Of course they do, and wannabe dictators know they resent it, but they don't care. There's nothing the population can do about it in a dictatorship. It's no longer possible to fight injustice in a system like that. People can't gather in large numbers to protest the rule of the dictator. If they try that, they'll be arrested by his state security services, even years after the fact. A visit from men in body armor at the breakfast table. That happens. And if citizens persist in believing they can gather in groups to protest, they may be shot to death, a bullet to the throat. And then, just to make the humiliation complete, to make the lesson gin clear to everyone else watching, their relatives can be arrested for daring to complain that their children were killed for complaining. That actually happens in some places. Ask Ashley Babbitt's mother. Here she is in handcuffs.
Yeah, she was arrested for protesting, Ashley Babbitt's mom, outside the Capitol. Other features of dictators. Money, protesting, jailing your opponents. This is fun. The dictator look. This is great. This is good.
Dictators have that look. You know one when you see one. Dictators build cults of personality around themselves, and they use those cults to deny the glaringly obvious. In his later years, to name just one example, North Korean dictator Kim Il-sung developed an enormous baseball-sized tumor on the back of his neck. It was huge. It was grotesque. It was right there. You couldn't ignore it. You couldn't possibly not see it. But in North Korea, state media did ignore it. They pretended it didn't exist. And so, in some important sense, it didn't. If a tumor grows on a neck but no one acknowledges it, is it really there? Thankfully, nothing like that is happening in our country or ever will. If Joe Biden ever developed some profound physical or medical problem that was obvious to everybody, journalists would say something. This is not North Korea. We don't have state media here. If Joe Biden was, say, incapable of completing a full sentence, or mistook his sister for his wife, or suddenly started falling down in public for no reason, the New York Times would report on that and then get to the bottom of what was actually happening. That would be its duty in a free country like ours. It's not like they would cover it up. The very idea of a cover-up sounds like a conspiracy theory, a dangerous one, actually, so stop it.
You're getting the point?
I'm getting the point, man, and he's brilliant. Is that sarcasm? Is that the...
Oh, just a little bit. But see, this is what... So rather than, get all the hand-wringing over the phrase wannabe dictator, let's explore it. Let's explore what's going on in this country. While the political class heaps scorn and postures as morally indignant, let's actually look at what's happening on so many fronts, and then you make your own determination about what appellation applies. How about that? Something else dictators do: enrich their families.
And by the way, if Joe Biden was a wannabe dictator, he'd have the family to match. All dictators do. Saddam Hussein had Uday and Qusay. They were princelings who lived above the law, indulging their most decadent fantasies with total confidence they would be never held to account by the police. As the sons of a dictator, they knew they could do exactly what they wanted, and so that's what they did. There's no one like that around Joe Biden. He doesn't have weird sex scandals at the heart of his family that no one in the media will ever talk about. He doesn't have a ne'er-do-well former nightclub-owning brother who's made a living for 30 years by being related to him. Not at all. That's dictator stuff. Joe Biden doesn't award ridiculous inflated titles to his relatives that the media are then required to take seriously. He doesn't call people doctor who didn't go to medical school and then force you to nod along like it's real when everyone knows it isn't. Nicolae Ceausescu did that with his wife Elena. Joe Biden would never do that.
And just the final foray on the wannabe dictator and how this dictator stuff has no place in a legitimate discussion of American politics. No place. No, it's okay for George W. Bush to be labeled Hitler by the left, by the same people that are aghast at wannabe dictator characterization of Joe Biden. What does the evidence support?
He would even, in his final grandiose stage of dictatorship, claim ownership of their children. And Joe Biden wouldn't do that. And to prove he would never do that, Biden just this week released this video.
These are our kids. These are our neighbors. Not somebody else's kids. They're all our kids. And our children are the kite strings that hold our national ambitions aloft. It matters a great deal how we treat everyone in this country. LGBTQ Americans, especially children, you're loved, you're heard, and this administration has your back.
See? Joe Biden isn't saying your children belong to him like a dictator would. He's saying something very different from that. He's saying America's children are, quote, our children. Not his alone, ours. You share your children with Joe Biden evenly, right down the middle, with alternating weekends. You've got joint custody with Joe Biden, and you can thank heaven that you do. A nation is like a family. Every family has a head, a father. That's Joe Biden, our nation's father. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is now his fatherland. Just don't call it a dictatorship, or we'll have to issue a statement disavowing you.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Have you been struggling to find an easy, safe, and secure document scanning solution for Salesforce.com, Microsoft 365, SharePoint, or OnBase by Highland? Your struggle is now over, and it's time to get your documents and operations into the 21st century. With IoT Smart Connected Scanning, it's easy to turn physical paper into digital documents and have them directly uploaded to the cloud with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. And you don't need a degree in computing or IT to make it happen. Using QR code technology uniquely configured for your specific business, anyone can set the IoT Smart Connected Scanning device up in 5 minutes or less, saving your organization money and valuable time. Remote employees can even capture documents and send them safely and seamlessly. Organize documents efficiently and securely with IoT Smart Connected Scanning from IDT. To see a demo or to order now, go to ready4idt.com. That's ready4idt.com. Use promo code SMART and receive 10% off your order. IDT, putting paper in its place.
The weather's heating up. Eventually, will. So there's savings. Will the savings heat up at Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst? Dan Proft here. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned Mazda, you need to visit Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst. You'll find the Mazda you want, and the price you see is the price you get. There's no games or gimmicks. Right now is a great time to buy a new Mazda with limited time incentives that only come around once a year. You can lease a 2023 Mazda CX-30 for $286 a month, or a 2023 Mazda CX-5 for $319 a month for 36 months with approved credit through Mazda Capital Services for qualified buyers. Just add the license, title, tax, and $324.24 doc fee. Plus, stop in today and ask about the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90. And to keep your Mazda running great all year round, schedule your next service appointment right there online at WilkinsMazdaCars.com. Wilkins Mazda is conveniently located in Elmhurst, off York Road and 290, just minutes from Oakbrook, downtown, and Schaumburg. Experience the next level of excellence at Wilkins Mazda in Elmhurst. Visit WilkinsMazdaCars.com. See dealer for details.
Are you a business owner with a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth, but you just need the right bank? Hi, Mike Gallagher here, letting you know that Signature Bank is all about going the distance for commercial banking customers. It's what Signature Bank does every day. Their team understands that accessibility is key to their culture. In times like these, you want a bank that is there for you to weather the bad times and capitalize on the good. And with Signature Bank by your side, you can't go wrong. It's a true partnership. That's why Signature Bank in Chicago is my bank. That's right. I'm a customer. I believe in what they have to offer, from innovative tech and customized solutions to help your business grow and thrive. Reach out to my friends at Signature Bank. Call 773-467-5630, 773-467-5630, or visit them online at signaturebank.bank. That's signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank makes commercial banking personal. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
Man, you talk about hitting a grand slam, just feeling just incredible. And I mean, I haven't felt this great in years. I'm 52, and with these, wow, it's just given me the energy every day to continue to do the exercises. And I just appreciate the doctor for what he's done. I'm impressed. I'm just become a new man with energy. I've never felt this great. I just want to say thank you to you guys.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
That time of the week at 8:38, Open Mic Friday, taking your calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Comments, compliments, concerns, criticisms, general crack pottery, we'll take it all. And we'll also have that story about the Penn State chemical engineering prof and how he blows off steam. 8:38, now we take the headlines with Mike Scott.
55 degrees at 8:31. At least 3 are dead, dozens more hurt after a tornado touchdown in the Texas panhandle city of Perryton.
We are without power, and we are trying to get everything we can done to restore power to our community and help those in need.
It's part of a larger system that also struck Pensacola, Florida, later killing one. Government authorities say they're working urgently on a damage assessment after several U.S. agencies were hit by a global cyber attack.
U.S. cybersecurity officials said on Thursday that the ransomware attack appears to be part of a widespread and coordinated effort to exploit a vulnerability in a widely used software. Cybersecurity Chief Jen Easterly said based on their assessment, the hackers were opportunistic and not looking to steal high-value information. She added that they are not extort or release any data stolen from U.S. government agencies. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Pope Francis has returned to the Vatican after being discharged from Rome's Gemelli Hospital. The 86-year-old is recovering from abdominal surgery. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken traveling to Beijing this weekend.
There have been a series of these actions directed not just at us, but at other countries in recent months.
Communication and meetings between the U.S. and China have dried up in the past few years, all due to the pandemic and political tension. The mayor of Miami tossing his name into the 2024 presidential race. Francis Suarez becoming the first Hispanic to enter the growing field. The Department of Justice will reveal the results of a years-long investigation into Minneapolis police. The investigation launched after the death of George Floyd. The daughter of an American woman whose body was found stuffed inside of a suitcase at the Indonesian resort island of Bali is scheduled to appear in a Chicago federal courtroom today. Heather Mack is expected to change her plea to guilty on charges she helped kill her mother, Sheila Von Weiss Mack. Chicago police sergeant who was in charge of the botched raid on the home of Ann Jeanette Young is out of a job. The police board voting in favor of firing Alex Walensky for multiple rule violations. Former CPD Superintendent David Brown recommended his firing. Cubs swept the Pirates after a convincing 7-2 win in the finale of that series on the north side, while the White Sox held an early 4-0 lead, but the bullpen imploded, and the Dodgers won 5-4 in 11. The news service of MyPillow, the brand new MyPillow 2.0, now buy one, get one free with promo code LIBERTY. Visit MyPillow.com and use that promo code LIBERTY. A check of traffic and weather is on the way next on AM 560.
Mike Gallagher can't picture 4 more years.
White House officials generally leave President Biden alone over the weekend to avoid tiring an aging president. This is incredible. There's no way he can make a campaign. It's impossible.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Dennis Prager at 11 on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetables in a capsule, changing the world one life at a time.
So I figured turning 65, I'd try Balance of Nature to see why not, give it a shot. And it's absolutely changed my life. I'm going to cry. I have more energy now than I did when I was in my 40s. It's brought back my life to me, and it's given me the energy that I was so missing, and I wasn't enjoying life because of it, and now I am. So I just wanted to thank Dr. Doug for everything he's done with this, and truly it has changed my life.
Start your journey to better health with Balance of Nature. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com to get 35% off your first preferred order. That's 1-800-246-8751. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
8:37, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at the roads, a service of Summit Racing. Summit Racing wants you to gear up your truck or Jeep for your next off-road camping adventure. Millions of parts in stock. SummitRacing.com, everything you need for anything you drive. The Kennedy at 45, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Kennedy outbound back out to the big airport in 25. The Ike smoothing out 35 into the old post office. Stevenson 29 from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State slows up northbound 31st up through the Eisenhower. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds will give way to sunshine at a high of 71. Clear and 55 overnight. Back up near 80 tomorrow. 56 right now. Next news at 9. And Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Top of the morning, Dan, and in for Amy J this morning is Charles Thomas, former ABC 7 political reporter. And you've been on a Friday before, so you know how this little segment
Yeah,
works.
this segment's great. I love this segment, man. Good chance to hear what people are thinking.
I'm thinking about something. You want to hear what I'm thinking about?
I'm afraid.
You should be. I'm thinking about a Penn State chemical engineering professor named Themis Matsoukas.
I think I read something about him.
Yeah, I'm not here.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. That's all right. Professor Matsoukas had been at Penn State for 30 years. The strange tale of his arrest, yes, he was arrested. He likes to blow off steam in a way that is prescribed by law. The tale begins in 2014 when police caught surveillance footage via trail cams of a man in the Rothrock State Forest committing sexual acts with a collie dog.
Plus? Is this plus or what?
Oh, is this on the spectrum?
Yeah.
Great question. I'm gonna have to check the alphabet.
You know, that whole plus thing. You know, I'm down with some of the letters, man. But when they get to the plus,
yeah.
You know, hey.
Well, but it's
what
a sort
are you
of
talking about?
plus infinity. It's
right.
sort of open ended.
They want you to sign on to some stuff that.
Well, I mean, normalizing. They're trying to normalize pedophilia, minor attracted persons.
Yeah, we get that. Yeah, well, you know, that's yeah, we suspect that, but this stuff.
Normalizing relations with a collie. Let's see. relations. Colliest. I don't know. I'm gonna have to workshop that. Maybe send that over to Johns Hopkins, since they've given us this new term for lesbian, a non-man attracted to non-men.
Well, that's what it is?
Lesbian is, yeah.
Oh,
What is a
man, see,
lesbian? That should be
stuff is happening way too quickly for me.
should be Matt Walsh's next documentary. What is a lesbian? A lesbian is a non-man attracted to non-man. Johns Hopkins. They explain, while past definitions refer to lesbian as a woman who is emotionally, romantically, and or sexually attracted to other women, this updated definition includes non-binary people who may also identify with the label lesbian.
So,
lesbian was not inclusive enough.
Would that be plus? Would that be a pluser?
No, you're just folding in the non-binary to the term lesbian, so they feel comfortable using it, I suppose. I don't know exactly. It's tough to follow the logic of this. But anyway, back to Professor Matsoukas and his bestiality. In April of this year, police saw another incident where they saw a man in a black ski mask and naked from the waist down. He observed on a trail cam at a restroom near the Allen Seeger parking area, engaging in lewd acts with a collie. It's amazing this collie's lasted this long. The local Fox affiliate there reporting that he's seen on video attempting to record himself performing these acts on an electronic tablet. Then he came back again in May and did the same thing. Different videos captured that same day during the incident showed Matsoukas moving his iPad to various spots and positions. Okay.
Is he tenured, by the way?
30 years, sure he is.
So he's in.
I think he may be on leave at this point, but yeah, he is tenured, and this is off grounds. I mean, although it is a criminal act, I guess still technically in the state of Pennsylvania. All right, now get ready for it. Earmuffs, if you're squeamish. At one point, investigators said he began to rub his chest and masturbate. He then bent over, pulled the dog's leash, getting the dog to lick his anus while he continued.
Oh, gotta go, man.
Where's PETA when you need him? This is a real tongue-in-cheek story.
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
Investigators say they were...
You're making this up, right?
No, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up.
Anything for ratings, right?
Yeah, it's not sweeps week. No, I'm not. Investigators say they were able to photograph a collie present at Matsoukas' home, and that his physical characteristics matched those of the dog seen in the video, not to mention the look of desperation in his eyes, I'm sure.
The dog's?
Yes. Yeah. They also recovered items similar to those worn by the man in the videos, along with 3 electronic tablets and so on and so forth. And he told police that, he told them at one point, I'm dead, I need to die. But then he also told them that this is how he blows off steam.
Blows off steam.
Uh-huh.
Kind of steam.
Penn State chemical engineering professor. Honestly, I know you say, there's thousands of academics, college professors, and in any profession where there are thousands of people, you're going to have somebody who goes to state parks to masturbate while his dog licks his anus. That's just going to happen. I understand.
Tales from Happy Valley.
Yeah. How much is tuition there? Anyway, yeah. Well, it's remarkable though how many stories of aberrant behavior emanate from the academy. We've been doing a campus beat segment on and stories on this show for the past 9 years, and I mean the number of professors engaged in aberrant behavior, sometimes illegal, other times just depraved. They're in the they're in the thousands. Gee, I wonder what it is about those who go into the academy and who the academy seeks out. Golly, gee, I wonder. All right, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 646-36DA, turnkey.pro text line. Your turn for animal stories. Dave and Racine, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Greetings and salutations. How about in the category of you can't beat 'em, join 'em? How about some other Pride merchandise that can be available next year, like hijabs, burmousas, serapis, and sombreros.
Right. Sure. Thanks for the call, Dave. Rick in Downers Grove.
Hey, good morning. Hey, real quick, I called about something else, but you were mentioning the Penis Link story by country.
I just hope somebody would bring that up.
Yeah, and you said like Canada and France are a little higher on the list. I'm French Canadian, so at least I got that going for me.
Which is nice.
But yeah, it is. It actually is. Worked out good that way. Hey, but what I called about is all these Democrat-controlled cities like Seattle, Chicago, Baltimore that are rat holes, and the residents there, they complain about the crime and corruption. Yet they haven't been able to put together the reality they're living is directly connected to their voting. And I don't think it's ever going to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, it won't happen. And you take like Chicago, for instance, like the mayor race. You could have brought Jesus Christ down and ran him as a Republican, a half-eaten jar of pickles as a Democrat. You would have a half-eaten jar of pickles in the mayor's office right now.
That'd be an
The
improvement.
residents of that well, it might be, but the residents of that city be walking around with a dumb look on their face, wondering, like, how come the city's not getting any better? We voted Democrat again. I mean, there's a point you got to cut your losses, tell these people have a good day, don't call us, we'll call you, because they're never going to wake up.
Thanks for the call. Have a good day. Have a good life. We'll see you later. I'm out of here. More like. By the way, I understand CWB Chicago reporting that Maggie Daly Park has become a haven for pedophiles.
Hey, man, look, I went on this cigar cruise last night.
Yeah.
And we went down the river. This is a beautiful, beautiful place.
Well, the architecture is outstanding. The lake is beautiful.
And when you
just the people.
I couldn't help thinking. I said, man, how could a place like this be left to die? I mean, what a beautiful city.
Yeah.
Man, and it's tragic.
You can say that about a lot of America's big cities, can't you?
Well, but they died.
Well, I know.
I mean, they died. The thing about it, Chicago? Oh, my God.
They just haven't called it yet. Yeah. But, yeah, no, I mean, this is a civilizational suicide. That's what you're saying. And now people are starting to get hip to it because, of course, it's not limited to the south and west sides of the city anymore.
But they won't talk about it. They're leaving, but they won't talk about it or
no.
together.
They don't want to offend anybody.
They don't want to offend anybody.
I'm a homer.
Afraid.
I love Chicago, but blah blah blah.
Yeah, they're afraid to say anything about
it. Don't you say anything bad about Chicago. They're like, they're like sports talk goofs with.
It's not a hellhole.
50 IQs, right?
That's what they say. Even though
I love this city.
It's headed in that direction, and they won't stand up.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the young ones who come in just to party and spend $300 for dinner, for a dinner date, they aren't committed. They come in, and as soon as they do get married or have kids, they split. They're out of here.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of the city, but they never engage. They never engage, and we in the right way. And you know more about that than me.
Yeah,
because you called it.
Yeah. Well, they're just there to repeat whatever they're told. City's beautiful. It is. I love the restaurants. I do. I love the arts offerings. I do. Yeah, it could be a little safer, but that's happening everywhere. That's happening everywhere. That's happening everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's happening everywhere. That's just big city living. Mm-hmm. All right. I'm tolerant. Live and let live. I'm for diversity and inclusion and equity. All right.
Diversity.
Women's rights, trans rights.
Yeah.
Right. I'm for everybody's rights.
Yeah.
Everything's hunky-dory.
Everything's hunky-dory, man.
Yeah. I mean, it could be better, but it's a great city. And, and hey, Trump. That's a counter-argument. Hey, Trump.
But, well,
that absolves all.
Yeah, that absolves all. As long as it's Trump, and man, they, like you say, they're trading in Trump for the wannabe dictator.
You don't like Trump, do you? Because I'm not able to talk about anything else. I'm not able to comment on what's happening in the neighborhood in which I live, in the city in which I live, in the state in which I live. I'm not able to talk about K through 12 education, tax policy, transportation infrastructure, the enforcement of the law with respect to violent offenders. I can't make assessments about the mayor's performance, the Cook County State's Attorney's performance, the governor's performance. All I know is they're against Trump, and I'm against Trump, and then you can't be for Trump.
Right, you can't be for
That's
Trump.
it.
There's
your analysis.
But where's your
the thinking?
But on the hopeful side, is there an off ramp here for those people? For those people who suffer so greatly from this Trump derangement syndrome?
Nope.
If there was no Trump, would another candidate be an off ramp for them? Those independents to come home to sanity, to reason.
Oh, right. Ron DeSantis, he's Trump 2.0.
Well, they're trying that.
Tim Scott's a white supremacist.
They're trying that. They're trying it.
It doesn't
but
matter.
I don't think it's going to work.
No.
That wouldn't work. They need Trump in the worst way.
No.
They need him to talk about.
They need him to absolve their sins. Because I'm still, even though I use my children as mascots, I dress up a 2-year-old boy in a sundress and take him to a drag queen story hour because I'm so empty. I'm all over the place on the spectrum and making a nuisance of myself and imposing myself on other people and accosting people about my identity because I'm so broken. I'm so wanting of love that I'm not receiving, that I'm forcing you to celebrate me. But hey, Trump, I'm against Trump.
As long as you're against Trump, man,
against
you're
Trump.
straight. You're straight.
Glenn Oakbrook.
Yeah, hi guys. Enjoying the show this morning. Wire Points, I just read on Wire Points, they put on an article about the state's racial rankings, and Illinois ranks last. Will the NAACP call for the evacuation of Illinois, and is U-Haul gearing up for this evacuation?
Yeah.
You know, I addressed that a couple of weeks ago that Illinois has the highest black unemployment rate in these United States. These are labor. These are numbers from organized labor.
Against Trump.
Yeah, but
they're against Trump, though.
And the NAACP tells me not to go to Florida, which has the lowest black unemployment rate of any other state in the country, and big state. And I'm going, whoa, and you know, it's madness. But Trump, it's all about Trump.
Right, to Glenn's point, this is wirepoints.org, our friend Ted Dabrowski, Mark Glennon, and the gang over there. The state economies with the most racial equity. Now, these are some of the states at the top are relatively homogenous. Some are not, though. Alaska's number one, but Arizona, the heavy Latino population, is number 2. New Mexico, same thing, is number 3. And all the way down at number 50 is Illinois.
Yep.
And number 51, by a wide margin, 51, to include the District of Columbia, is the District of Columbia.
It is, of course, the
right,
District.
Because it's all the honkies in power.
Yeah.
And the black residents who actually live there.
It's white privilege, man. You know, it's.
Hey, we're against Trump, though. Don't worry about it. Against Trump.
But Malcolm warned him. Malcolm warned him in 1965, the greatest threat to your progress as a black person are the white liberals.
Yeah.
Malcolm X said
so
that,
did Dr. King, essentially in his letter from Birmingham jail.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, Southside.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Charles. I just wanted to point out 3 quick facts about that study as far as size goes. One, I think the U.S. males, we're moving down on that list because I think now we're including measurements of trans males. I also think that because of
the penis list. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They get
penis.
zero,
Erect
zeros
penis.
factor in those
We're
zeros,
60th. We're 60th.
Yeah, that's because we're taking the measurements of trans women now. I heard.
Yeah.
Trans men.
Well, trans women are men, right? Is that what it is?
Right, men. But some of them are getting their junk rearranged, and so that's what he's saying. Maybe they're being
Trans
miscounted.
men are men.
Maybe it's just like this is a global study, and maybe there's a conversion problem, metric to inches.
Well, I'm also thinking now, with people like
That's
Dylan
what I say.
Mulvaney and Leah Thompson.
Leah Thomas.
The U.S. Leah Thomas. I heard that American women now have the biggest penises.
Well, certainly the former mayor
sense.
did here.
It's logical.
Thanks for the call, Matt. Frank, Arlington Heights.
Hey, good morning. Happy Friday. Quiz for you, Dan. History quiz for you this morning. On Proviso Township.
Proviso Township. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Storied as it is.
Yes, I got some easy questions and hard ones for you. When Cook County was being organized back in, Western Cook County, I should say, back in 1850, part of Western Cook County was.
I don't reside in an organized county. I reside in a township, or a county. I reside in Cook County. I guess you could play township. A little Will Rogers, paraphrasing for you.
So Proviso Township was named after?
Proviso Township was named after what?
What was it named after? Why did they call it Proviso Township?
I don't know.
Okay, the Wilmot Proviso of David Wilmot, the anti-slavery war. That's right. But it originally wasn't called Proviso Township. For about a couple months, it was actually named after the president in 1850. Do you remember who that was?
The president in 1850. The president of the United States, or the Cook County Board president? Was it named George Dunn?
No, the president of the United States. President of the United States. In 1850, he was the last Whig president. He died of eating strawberry custard, and Millard Fillmore succeeded him.
Charles, I'm phoning a friend.
This is a quiz.
Yeah, I'm phoning a friend, Charles. Wait, hold on. I'm doing them. I like, how you keep track of the presidents in order in my head. Hold on a second. Zachary Taylor.
Zachary Taylor, very good. Very
you.
good. Now, here's a really hard question for you. Who did he run against in beat in 1848? And there's a hotel named after this gentleman, and there used to be a street named after him. The hotel is on 640 North Wabash. This is a Democratic senator from Michigan.
640 North.
That's the really super hard question.
640 North Wabash. That's.
Are you trying to think of the hotel?
Well, the hotel is still named after him, and the street used to be named after him, but now it's called Wabash.
Mike, we're going to phone a friend, Mike Scott.
I'm going to say it was Cass.
You are correct, Mike.
Oh, very good. All right. Yeah,
Longtime Michigan resident, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
I'm going to send you my modular exams, Dan, via the radio station. You'll love them. The kids love them. They are a new invention of mine, so I think you'll enjoy filling them out.
Thanks for the call, Frank. And have Mike Scott show me up. Gee whiz. Matt in Oak Lawn.
Hey, good morning. So I have a quiz. It's not nearly as deep as what Frank from Arlington Heights had, but did you see your buddy Danny Parkins throw out the first pitch at Wrigley last week?
No, I didn't. Well, why would I pay attention to what goes on at the Cubs game?
Look it up. I hate the Cubs too, but you got to look this up. There's a very good chance this dude's left-handed. Nobody's ever told him. He's a terrible athlete.
Of course. That's why he does sports talk. Chuck and Delavan, quickly.
I'd like to. Hey, thanks for taking my call. I'd like to do a public service announcement. Anytime this summer when you're going in and out of the porta potties because of the big festivals and everything, never take your phone. Here on the job site, I had two guys come up to me, hey, I lost my phone. Can you help me find it? And can I dial it or whatever? And both of them were in the drink. They're going to go in the drink, so keep your phones out of the porta potty.
Thanks so much, Chuck. Appreciate it. Charles Thomas, thanks so much for sitting in today. We appreciate it.
I enjoyed it. It's an island of sanity.
We try. It is now 9 a.m. AM 560, Chicago's Morning Answer. Turning it over to the news.
Hackers hit the U.S. again. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
What has me so